Thank you for all of those that would like to participate. Would you please stand, bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for your presence this evening, for the freedom and safety you have graced us with as your servants. We ask you to provide in us the ability to listen, discern, and openly discuss with all participating who are present, the business of our community this evening, all with peace and civility, and all our actions to be what is best with all our citizens. We thank you for all our men and women in uniform who protect our freedoms at home. Be with them and keep them safe, as well as their families, until their safe return home. We ask you to remain with all our first responders who work tirelessly to provide for our safety, health, and well-being. Please keep them and their families as well. Remain with our brothers and sisters in Israel and the Middle East to guide them to a peaceful resolution as only you can pursue and foresee and provide. May we diligently strive to accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. For faith is to believe what we do not see, and the reward of this faith is to see what we believe. As it is written in your word in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, we shall fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is truly eternal. It is in your holy name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Well, we're going to open the meeting at 6:02, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I know that kind of confused us a little bit because this is our first change. The first time we've done it since we changed it. Additions or deletions?
Yes, Mayor Bailey, staff would like to add under new business number 2, ordinance 01-2025.
Could you repeat that one again?
Yes, ma'am. New business number 2, ordinance 01-2025.
Okay. Thank you. Is that the only change?
From staff, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for clarification on the record, Madam Mayor, that's just the ordinance that provides for registration of foreclosure, mortgages, and vacant property, just for the public's knowledge and understanding. Ordinance 2025-01, you might not know what it is, so.
Thank you. All right, adoption of agenda with the change.
Madam Mayor. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Commissioner Green. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? None. Any public discussion on the motion on the floor? All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. Consent agenda, which includes 4 items. Approve the minutes for December 9th, the minutes for December 30th, the minutes, for both meetings, the emergency meeting on December 30th, and then the commission meeting on December 30th, and the bill payments.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hope. We have a second by Commissioner Green. Commissioner comments on the motion. Public comments or discussion on the motion. All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. All right. Now we come to the part where one of you could take this seat, if you want it, please. Elect a mayor and a vice mayor.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, dear.
I appreciate so much what you've done the last 4 years, but I do think we need to start changing some. And for that reason, I'm going to nominate Fletcher Hope as the mayor.
All right. Anybody else? No, okay. Well, we can go ahead and accept that nomination. Any seconds? Fletcher, Commissioner Hope, do you accept? That-
I'm sorry.
Nobody, I mean, since nobody seconded, but I'm just,
I would be honored to serve in that.
okay.
I'd be honored to serve in that capacity, ma'am, if so elected, appointed.
He said yes, he would accept. But do we have a second?
I'll second it since he is accepting it.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Commissioner Green. I keep wanting to call you Commissioner White. My pen stopped. Can I get another one?
You can try that one, see if it
Oh.
works.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Green gave me one. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Public discussion on the motion.
Madam Mayor, I made a nomination and
You did? I'm sorry. I thought you said you motioned.
Do I need to
My
make a
bad,
motion?
my bad. You can make it a motion because she definitely seconded.
I would just turn it into a motion, that way we can allow
I
public
would
comment.
make the motion to elect Fletcher Hope as mayor.
Okay. Now you can come.
Karen Fiore, I just have a question. When does that go into effect? So this meeting?
In a few minutes when we're done. Is that all? Okay. All right. Let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Did you vote or was it 4-0?
Yeah, I voted.
Okay.
I'm honored to fill that position, ma'am.
Thank
As
you.
appointed.
Thank you. We can switch and you can find your vice mayor. Question, I need to sign these things or do we let him sign those?
Well, he's the appointed mayor now, so for purposes of tonight, it probably needs to be him. We may need to update the names and just execute documents tomorrow, Fletcher, if you're, Commissioner Hope, if you're around.
No, you're good. You just grab my jacket. Let me grab my
That's all
jacket, I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
I told you to come and I didn't have my junk out. Let me
Sorry. Is this your purse or that's Mayor
That's
Green? Oh.
my bag. That's Green's, a whole bag. I travel lightly.
Mayor Hope,
Yes, ma'am.
congratulations first and foremost.
Yes.
Second, do you have anything that allows you to time public comment on your person before we get into the next?
I think I just moved my little cell phone. I have my cell phone.
That's fine,
Within-
however you want to do it. I just wanted to flag it for you before we got too.
Or we can steal your stuff, don't matter.
Or can I appoint someone to be timekeeper during that?
I don't think a formal appointment's necessary if Commissioner Bailey is gonna run the phone, as long as you're fine
Commissioner
with
Bailey,
that.
would you assist with that?
I
Is-
definitely
Your
will.
device is more accurate than mine, I'm sure. Thank you very much for that vote of confidence in being appointed. I hope I can fill those shoes and certainly listen with intent to our citizens, both tonight and from this point forward. We're not finished with that, though. We have to
Correct.
elect a vice mayor. Do I have any nominations for appointment of a vice mayor?
Mayor, I'm going to nominate Commissioner Green for vice mayor this year.
I was about to nominate Mayor Bailey. I didn't know if I could say it.
Not to say commissioner, yes. I'm no longer mayor, which is fine.
I forgot she's no longer mayor. Yeah, I was about to nominate Commissioner Bailey.
I
Did you
second.
not want to do it?
No, I am nominating.
I meant, did
Oh,
you not want?
Did I not want to do it? Only if you turn it down.
What?
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
You're not sure you're ready? Okay. All right.
Well,
I just need.
it was nominated a second for, Commissioner
Green.
Bailey, yeah, to be vice mayor.
Oh. Well, it depends on me. But,
For,
She
Commissioner Bailey?
nominated, yeah, she nominated, and I second,
for,
vice mayor,
For Commissioner Bailey.
yeah.
Is that what you
well,
said?
we can do a whole bunch of running around.
and
We
and
can do
you decline the offer for the nomination for yourself to be vice mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I have a motion and a second for appointing vice mayor to be Commissioner Iris Bailey. Any opinions or conversation from the dais regarding that nomination?
I'm so used to looking
I love that
down.
you looked at me. I was-
And are you willing to accept that appointment?
Yes, it takes a load off of my back, so yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments from the citizens regarding that appointment, nomination?
Roberto Lopez. I also remember in the past that the vice mayor can continue, and we've seen that happen with Commissioner Bailey over the period of time. But since you've gone through this part of this process and if everybody agreed, then that's fine. But I just wanted to let you know that you could have stayed in your position. You are the vice mayor, right?
Oh, I'm happy.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Anyone else? Hearing none. All those in favor of the nomination for Commissioner Iris Bailey to act as vice mayor by appointment for the year 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Nays, like sign. Hearing none. Welcome aboard again. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Welcome aboard also.
Next on our agenda is our guests. First item is agenda item 1, University College of Dentistry Saving Smiles fee waiver request for February 28th and March 1st at the Archer Community Center.
Mayor Ho, they're probably not going to be here because they had their clinic was during when we had the hurricane, back-to-back hurricanes, so they
Okay.
still had children signed up to have dental services.
Okay.
So I just told them that I can't waive any fees that have to come by the commission. So they wanted a Friday and a Saturday so they could finish those children's dental work.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the fee waiver for the dental services.
I'll second it.
Have a second? Commissioner White? Any discussion regarding this? The application for the use has been completed, is my only question.
I believe she
Ms.
might
Alto.
not have signed it, but yes, sir, I can get that signed. I must have the wrong application in my mind. Yeah, I'll have her sign it.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Anyone else?
No, I think this is a great program. I've seen it work through the school systems. I was excited when I saw it, and then I looked at the date. So that date is when I'll be out of the country. So, yeah. So I won't get to come around and see the people and the nice new smiles. But, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Mayor, my understanding also is we had already waived the fees for this, but the hurricane came through and.
Correct,
So-
yes.
We did. Okay.
Okay. Anyone from the audience want to speak to this recommendation and request? Hearing none, all those in favor of this waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Nays, like sign. Hearing none, it's approved. 5-0. Next is the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church MLK Junior Celebration for January 20th at the Archer Community Center. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for this privilege, Mayor Hope. So we're requesting that the fees of, for this particular event, which is on January 20th, Martin Luther King Day celebration. I am the spearhead of it, but it is open to the public, open for the city to celebrate this great day, Martin Luther King.
And everything is in order. Manager Altop,
Yes.
for the application for the
Mayor
request.
Hope, staff did recommend, I had a conversation with another commissioner, that maybe we consider collecting 150 or somewhere around there to cover our utilities. That's just a recommendation from staff and one other commissioner.
Is there a consideration for that from, as consideration for the motion to approve or deny?
Mayor, we also had our accounting help advises that we did need to start looking at waivers and donations. So I'm not going to go with 150 because I think $100 will cover the lights and the water. And so my motion is that we reduce it to, we'll reduce $100 off of it.
Contingent on that payment for the utilities.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I want to second it, but, okay, so can you put your microphone near your face so I can understand you?
So how much is it, 300?
Yes.
So-
500. Goes from 8 to 4, so that would probably be close to 500 for an actual,
The rental.
all day would be the best situation. And the $300 deposit.
I still think $100 will cover lights and water costs. So I'm going to say that we reduce it by $100.
So you're saying 400?
Well,
No, you said
yeah.
100.
Yes. No, I'm saying 400.
To
We're going to
charge them
reduce it.
400.
We're going to reduce it $100. Whatever the total fee is,
Right.
we'll reduce
Bring it
by
down.
$100.
So that mean the total fee is gonna be $400.
Instead of 500.
You need to charge them 400.
Okay.
I don't quite agree with that.
Well, it was a motion.
It's a motion. I'm sorry. I know I
It can
discussed
die for
it.
lack of a second. Is there a second
No.
Right, it's just a motion.
from anyone on the dais? No? Dies for lack of a second. Any other counter motion?
Yes, yes. I do understand, but this is also a program for the community. So if anything, I would flip that and maybe they pay $150 and we waive the rest. That is my motion.
I second that.
I think that's what I meant.
That's what you got the first time, but then you changed it.
We
Yeah.
have a motion to waive the rental contingent on the payment of the cost of the utilities and water, which would be approximately $150. I have a second. Any other discussion? I have a discussion a second from Commissioner Kathy Penny. Any other discussion from the dais?
Yes, I would say if we're going to start the charge, because I know that we've had other organizations use it and so forth that have not charged anything. So if we're going to do this this time, this is something that we just need to say that we will charge from now on, and not just charge one organization. I did go to the program, last year, and it was very successful.
Right.
It drew people from Gainesville and the surrounding towns, and, it was very, very nice, very successful. And, yeah, so, I would just say, I mean, I'm in agreement with the 150, but, I'm just saying, it needs to be across the board from now on.
Yes, ma'am.
And
And, yeah, I'm sorry. In December, I think we said that we were gonna have to start, charging something, not letting it go for free. So I think a minimal payment is better than a big bulk payment. That's my opinion, though. Because I do feel like when we're doing community events and service, that it should be free, period. Yeah, I'll make a donation to you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if I hear the message clear from Commissioner Green, it is basically the new year, recognizing our financial position in all areas, not just this, but basically you're asking to set a precedence with this, that we
Right.
recoup the cost
Correct.
to the city of a waiver consideration coming forward in 2025. Is that what I hear? Okay. Any comments from the public?
Before you go there, Mayor, I was about to say Madam Mayor, but.
I vote by anything
I'm
these
sorry.
days. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask, Deanna, do we still have a group that goes out there once a week and use the building?
Diamond Divas do dance there, yes,
Okay.
Monday and Thursday.
They go every week?
Yes, ma'am.
For free?
Unless there's rain or something happening, yes. they
Okay,
do.
and that's free of charge?
Yes.
do need to look at that.
Since
So, okay.
2016, I believe. Yes.
Have they renewed their application and request for 2025?
No, sir, they haven't.
Could we send a message out to them to do that, so that come before us? And we do likewise in fairness and equity to any organization? I mean, to be consistent, I think that's only fair. As good as they are and what they've done. Thank you.
All right.
Anything else?
So the fee would be
150.
150,
Not
okay.
500. It's just to recoup the cost of the potential water and utilities for the
Thank you so
event for all
much.
day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, job well done, you did an awesome job last
Comments?
year with
Thank
it.
you.
Comments from the public?
Oh, yes, now we got
Pastor
somebody
Winston.
else coming up, yeah.
I think I started this. We're having an event next month, and I agreed to do the 150 because of the circumstances that we're in right now. And I think that's fair.
Sure.
I also would like to see the commission and Deanna's office to revise the rules and the regulations, or all of us revise the rules and the regulations that are in there right now and we shouldn't have it, in other words, it should be something written up as to how you want this to operate and who pays what and that sort of thing, because we just can't do it this today and then next week we're gonna do something different, you know what I mean, for a different organization. We also already have rules and regulations such as you need to be a nonprofit organization, with a 501c3. And I don't know if that's happening in every rental that we have. I'm almost certain that it's not. So all of these rules and regulations that are already written should be revised, either maintained, and then you need to come up with a new plan as to how you're gonna handle this until we get out of this financial situation. Right now, I started paying the 150 because of that, because I figured it would pay the utility and the light bill, while we're there. Also, we need to make it clear, and I've been talking to Deanna about this a lot, as to keeping the place clean, who goes in and check it before, who goes in and check it after. That seems to be a concern, and a great concern, and especially a concern of mine, because we paid $1,000 back to somebody last year because they found the place dirty. You know what I mean? You remember that? Do you remember that, Commissioner?
Yeah, I think, was it 1,000?
1,000 to Geraldine McMillan.
That was the park, wasn't it?
Ms. Lopez, you have less than a minute,
No,
please.
she had an event at the park.
Okay, and.
She had an event at the park, and then she went over to the community center. I'm part of her family. It was a family reunion. And you guys had to pay her $1,000 back because it wasn't clean. So I'm telling you right now, make sure that we get those rules straightened out, and I've sent all of you all kinds of information
Thank
about that.
Thank you, Ms.
I
Lopez.
thank you.
Manager Altop, can you please amend the current application to require 501C, if it's not already in there, for any waiver consideration? And any waivers would be contingent on paying the fee for utilities and water. And bring that back to us for review and approval at the next meeting, if we could, as a financial opportunity.
Okay, so update the agreement that we currently, because it currently does have a 501c3.
Requirement in there, okay, again, I don't have it in front of me, but make sure it has that, and then our new standard of any request for waivers would be contingent on paying for the water and utilities for the
Right.
use of the
But
facility.
they still would come to deny us to approve fee waivers.
Yes, ma'am, same
Okay,
procedure with
okay,
all
I'm
that, just
making
add that
sure.
line of, this is
Okay.
our new standard, that, we don't have 100% waiver on anything. Contingent on the cost to the city for the utilities, which is $150, sounds like the standard we're gonna use. Thank you. Any other comments from the citizens regarding this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Nays like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Powell and Jones fiscal year 2023 audit report presentation. Welcome.
Okay. My name is Caleb Perla. I'm one of the partner owners at Powell and Jones CPA. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to discuss your audit report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023, which began in October 1st of 2021. I've got the presentation or the report over here on the screen so you can follow along here. Or if you have it on your phone downloaded from the agenda packet, or commissioners also have a bound copy as well they can follow along with.
Mr. Purba, just for a point of clarification, you said for year beginning
October 1st
of 2022?
22.
22, not 21. Okay.
Mhm.
Did I hear 21 or was I the
Oh,
other?
did I misspeak? Yeah, 22.
22.
22 and ended September 30th,
Just for
23.
point of record. but
Yep.
I think I
Yep,
heard
so-
21.
So 1 year
Yep.
from
Yes, sir.
October 1st of 22 to September 30th of
Thank you,
23. Okay, so this is our independent auditor's report. It says here at the top that we have a qualified opinion. It states that we have audited the city of Archer, Florida as of and for the year ended September 30th, 23. And in our opinion, except for the possible effects of the matters discussed in the basis for qualified opinion section of our report, the respective financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the city of Archer. So what this is saying is that we think the financials are accurate, but there are some caveats to that. So we can't guarantee they're 100% accurate because there are some issues that we've had. Further down, we have a paragraph here that explains the matters that give rise to this qualified opinion on the financial statements. It says that there are potentially fraudulent errors related to payroll, accounting errors that resulted in posting of expenses to incorrect funds and departments, and a lack of justification for the allocation of some of those expenses. Okay. Moving on in the report, this is management's discussion and analysis on page 8. This is a broad overview of the financial statements. If you're looking for a quick read on your own without going into all the details, this is a great place to read on your own time. I'm going to skip ahead to page 16 to the financial statements themselves, though. I wanted to bring that to your attention if you wanted to look at that. This is the governmental fund balance sheet which covers the general fund. This is all of your general operations, but does not include your water and solid waste. This is presented on a modified accrual basis of accounting, which in layman's terms, that means your budgetary basis. This is what you budget with, these figures right here. It's not the full accrual basis of accounting, but it does have a conversion to the full accrual basis down at the bottom, which I'll cover. So first you have your assets, then your liabilities, then your fund balances, which are the differences between those assets and liabilities, or essentially your net worth for the year. For assets, you had cash of $126,000, accounts receivable of $16,000, and amounts due from other funds of $347,000, bringing total assets to $490,000 for the year. For liabilities, or what you owe, you had accounts payable of $25,000 and accrued liabilities of $34,000, bringing your total liabilities to $59,000 for the year. Next, we have those fund balances. These are segregated into several different components. First, we have amounts restricted for transportation of $516,000, amounts restricted for infrastructure of $1,900, amounts restricted for culture and recreation purposes of $114,000, and then unassigned fund balances of a deficit of $202,000. When you total all these together, you're left with a net fund balance of $431,000. What this is showing is that there's certain restricted amounts that you have set that need to be set aside for things like transportation and infrastructure, but there's not sufficient reserves to cover those requirements. Below this, we have a reconciliation to the full accrual basis of accounting. It shows that you have capital assets valued at $1,697,000, and you had certain deferred inflows and outflows related to pensions of $135,000 and $43,000, and long-term liabilities of $535,000. When you adjust for those, your total net position for governmental activities, which is your accrual basis financial reports, it shows $1,685,000. Oops. Okay. On the next page, we have our statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. This is similar to a profit and loss statement. This is once again for your general fund. It includes your general operations and does not include your water and solid waste. This shows your revenues and expenses for the year. For revenues, some of your larger sources were property taxes of $253,000, other taxes of $375,000, intergovernmental revenues of $264,000, franchise fees of $120,000, and in total, with all the other smaller sources of revenue, your total revenues were $1,098,000 for the year. For expenditures, or what you paid during the year, or owe, you have your general government expenditures of $693,000, physical environment of $15,000, transportation $375,000, and culture and recreation of $133,000. And you also have certain amounts that you've set aside and paid for capital purposes, like equipment, of $126,000. And then you have debt service on your loans of $22,000, bringing total expenditures to $1,366,000. The excess of your revenues over or under expenditures was a deficit of $267,000 for the year. You had transfers in of $110,000 from your utility funds, bringing the net change in fund balance to a deficit of $157,000 for the year. On the next page, we have a reconciliation to the full accrual basis of accounting. This starts with that $157,000 loss and shows some of the adjusting items. I want to draw your attention to the fact that most of the adjustments are from the net pension liability, which totals around $100,000 for the year, which brings your deficit to $223,000 at year end on the full accrual basis of accounting. Some of those pension related adjustments is because you're a part of the state retirement system, and that pension plan has actuarial studies which show whether that's in surplus or deficit. So this isn't necessarily something you're going to have to pay out anytime soon. It's just something that has to be funded with increased contribution rates to the plan over time. On the next page, we have our proprietary fund statement of net position. This report shows your water fund and solid waste fund activity for the year, or the balances at year end. And then it shows a total of those two. This is on the full accrual basis of accounting. It shows your assets and your liabilities and your difference between those, which is essentially your net worth for the year, or which is called net position. I'm going to cover the totals here. We have total cash of $187,000, accounts receivable of $51,000, and due from other governmental units of $108,000, bringing total current assets to $355,000. For restricted assets, you have meter deposits of $54,000. Then you also had capital assets of $2,772,000. This brings your total assets to $3,182,000 for the year. You also had the deferred inflows related to the pension of $52,000. Next, we have your liabilities, or what you owe. You had current liabilities of accounts payable of $233,000 and amounts due to other funds of $347,000. Your total current liabilities, or amounts that are due and payable within the next year, are $588,000. You had a meter deposit liability of $43,000, and then you had other long-term liabilities, which was primarily your net pension liability, which was $192,000. When you add your current and non-current liabilities together, you're left with a total liability of $829,000 as of year end. You also had other deferred inflows related to your pension plan. And the net between those assets and your liabilities was your net position. The or more than all of it is tied up in your capital assets, which is the $2,772,000. And then you have a deficit unrestricted net position of $384,000 as of year end, bringing your total net position to $2,388,000. This basically shows that this fund is supported by debt from the general fund. It's basically propped up this fund over time. Okay. Next page, we have our statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. This is a profit and loss statement, essentially. It shows your revenues and expenses for the year for the water and solid waste funds. For your water utility, you had $261,000 in revenues. For solid waste, you had let me just stick with the water fund here. You had $261,000 in revenues, and you had water-related expenses of $528,000, creating an operating deficit of $266,000 for the year. You also had a small loss from other activities of $15,000, which brings the total deficit to $282,000 on the bottom line. For solid waste, you had revenues of $128,000, expenses of $105,000, which created a surplus of $23,000 for solid waste. As you can see here, a large deficit in water, but solid waste is operating profitably. Moving on to the next financial statement. This is the statement of cash flows. I really want to focus on the net cash provided by operating activities line here, because it shows how your ongoing operating results are doing, cash in, cash out. It shows that your water fund is causing a deficit in cash of $212,000 for this year, whereas solid waste is creating a surplus of $50,000 in cash for the year. These changed your cash total of a decrease of $112,000 between the two different funds, which took your cash from $353,000 at the beginning of the year down to $241,000 as of year end. Moving 2 pages back, page 23 I think it is. This starts the notes to the financial statements. This is quite a long dialogue. I'm not going to cover this in detail. but it covers things like your accounting policies and supports certain numbers that you've seen on those financial statements that we just covered. You'll notice that each one of the financial statements has a tag on the bottom that says "See notes to financial statements," like this here. And that's because this provides a lot of explanation and detail on those financials. Those are just the numbers. This is kind of the why behind the numbers. Let's skip ahead to page 49. This is the budgetary comparison schedule. This compares your actual results for the year versus your budget. I'm going to draw your attention here to the total expenditures about in the middle of the page. Your budgeted expenditures were $1,055,000. Actual expenditures were $1,366,000. This means that you overspent your budget by $311,000. Further below, you can see the net change in fund balance, which is your net change for your general fund, was a deficit of $157,000 like we covered earlier, and you budgeted a break-even budget. Let's move on to page 61. This is the management letter. I want to go to the bottom of this page where we have the Auditor General compliance matters. We have a required financial condition assessment that we have to do, and I want to cover some of the details on this. We found that the city has deteriorating financial conditions due to cash flow issues caused by financial mismanagement and recurring and growing losses in both the enterprise and general funds, as demonstrated in the following tables. In the enterprise fund, we found that there has been a trend of increasing operating losses in the past 3 years, as shown below. You can see each one of the past 3 years has a substantial deficit. You can see that your unrestricted net position dwindled very quickly over the last 3 years to a deficit net position. Cash balances have also been decreasing, and you can see that 2 out of the last 3 years had decreases in cash for your enterprise funds, which is your water and solid waste. Next, we have your general fund. In general fund, there was a deficit in unrestricted fund balance of $202,000, and we also found there had been a trend of decreasing cash balances as well as an increase in unreimbursed expenses paid for in the general fund on behalf of the enterprise fund, resulting in large balances owed to the other fund. You can see here the last year we have that deficit in this current year. Also, we see decreasing cash balances and also compensating increase in amounts due from the other fund. And so basically this fund has essentially propped up your enterprise fund over time, and now there's large balances owed back to it. Next, we have a determination that the city has met the conditions described in section 218.503 of Florida statutes, which results in a financial emergency. The city has a deficit unrestricted fund balance of $202,000 in the general fund due to expending restricted balances to meet ongoing operating needs. In addition, the city has had 2 months of outstanding payroll taxes as of year end that were unpaid, and those payroll taxes from that point and until the end of the audit had not been paid. So this has resulted in a large balance and interest and penalties on those, and it is our understanding that the city is unable to pay these taxes and related penalties and interest at this time. Let's move on to page 66. This is our schedule of findings for the audit. This is where we summarize any issues that we found. 2023-01, bank reconciliations. We found that bank reconciliations were not being completed in a timely manner and that there were outstanding or non-existent balances or old balances there. Finding 2, payroll taxes. The city is a semi-weekly depositor with the IRS, which means that they are required to pay taxes after each pay period. During our audit, we found that deposits were not being made, and as of year-end, they totaled $27,000 outstanding. Finding 3, grant tracking and timing. We found that grant revenues, which had been requested for reimbursement, were not recognized as revenue in the correct period, and that there was a timing mismatch, and the city had to front over $100,000 in grant expenses because another grant had not come through to fund those as of year-end, though it did after year-end. Finding 4, year-end cutoff. We found multiple bills which were incorrectly posted in the subsequent year. So basically, a year-end cutoff issue, things weren't being posted into the correct years. Finding 5, water account adjustments. We found multiple adjustments of significant accounts to water or to utility customer accounts. These write-offs were not made with adequate documentation and written approval. Finding 6, segregation of duties. We identified a lack of segregation of duties related to cash deposits and disbursements. Finding 7, recording utility usage. Utility accounts were left unpaid for long stretches of time, along with some customers being billed the monthly minimum due to malfunctioning meters or improper reading of meters. So that's, just to clarify, that's not your utilities, it's customer utilities that were not being paid. Oh goodness. Just up in here. There it is. Finding 8. We found that enterprise fund expenses were being improperly paid out of the general fund, and that correcting entries to post these expenses to the correct fund were not being made, and that repayment to enterprise fund had not been made, and internal balances and transfers between the funds had not been properly reconciled, and that utility taxes were not being paid to the general fund. Finding 9, improper tracking of employee paid time off balances. We found that the former city manager was given various vacation payouts during the year, totaling 266 hours, which was over $12,000 for the fiscal year. These payouts were the only recorded use of vacation for the city manager, and his recorded remaining balance after those payouts was greater than the possible calculated remaining balance by over 150 hours. Finding 10, overpayments to the former city manager. We found that vacation, holiday, and sick pay were not properly set up in the payroll software for salaried employees. And he was improperly paid 1 extra pay period during the fiscal year. We found that this totaled $2,900 for duplicate holiday pay, $3,000 for duplicate sick pay, and $4,000 due to the extra payroll, totaling approximately $10,000 estimated. We had a prior year finding that was restated for this year on financial statement preparation. This is a pretty standard finding for organizations that don't have CPAs on staff who are capable of preparing their financial statements. We have finding 11 regarding internal controls over fuel. We found that fuel log forms had numerous mathematical inaccuracies and inconsistencies in the data recorded, that the miles per gallon on the vehicles was not being calculated, and that there was no documentation of full review or approval of the forms, and that there were unsubstantiated allegations of minor fuel theft. Finding 12, utility payments being posted to the accounting software on a cash basis instead of an accrual basis. I think the title kind of describes that well. Just had some cash basis accounting going on when there should have been accrual. Finding 13, potential water system leakage and inefficiency. We reviewed 10 months of water plant operating reports and estimate that line loss or leakage from those pipes in the water system was approximately 24% of the water pumped, whereas the national average is around 16%, because you do have normal losses in large water systems, but yours was higher than those national averages, which indicates that there's excess leakage. Finding 14, general care financial records. We found that there were widespread deficiencies in the financial management and accounting processes of the city. Finding 15, budgetary noncompliance. We found that expenditures greatly exceeded the appropriated budget, and therefore the city did not comply with Florida Statute 166.241, paragraph 2. And finding 16, restricted fund balances. We found that restricted cash balances were not being segregated from operating cash balances. This caused the city to have a deficit unrestricted fund balance in the general fund and to be out of compliance with Florida statutes due to the expenditure of restricted funds on operating expenses. And that concludes my review of the financial statements. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions of the commission at this time?
I think I've asked you over the time, but I want you to go back to the FRS, I guess, the pension, net pension liability.
Yeah.
Explain that, please.
Okay, so there's required disclosures on pension plans, because so sometimes you have a pension plan that promises more than it might be able to deliver. Like they say, hey, we're going to give you $1,000 a month, but they have an actuary who's someone who studies future rates on investments and other things like that to try to figure out, hey, do you have enough money in the plan to actually pay that $1,000 a month? And so they've determined that the state plan, which you participate in, does not have enough money to cover those future promised benefits. And this is very common for pension plans, over-promising and under-delivering. And so what that means is that over time, the state is going to have to raise the rates that employers contribute, like the city, contribute to the retirement plan to be able to fund those future benefits. And so there's a liability that's calculated by these actuaries and for the state, and we apply a percentage of that, your percentage of the state's liability to your financials, because we're required to disclose that, because it's technically your share of that. Even though it's not something you actually are going to like stroke a check for next year or even in the next 10 years, because it's over the remaining life of your employees. So this is a liability that's going to be slowly paid with increased contributions to the pension plan over time.
Okay.
And is that a formula that you just get from the state?
Yes, the state has auditors and actuaries.
Calculation record
Yep,
to go out for each year.
yep, and they have a
Prepared.
long spreadsheet that says everyone's little
Yeah.
percentage, and your percentage is probably 0.001 something, like in there. But we calculate that, we take that percentage
To get a monetary value of
to
what
get a
that
monetary
liability
value.
is.
Yep.
Okay.
So we don't have to ask our employees to go up on their portion of the contract?
No, there's nothing you have to do about this. You just expect, you can probably expect with the deficit that the state's going to increase the amount that you have to contribute in future years, most likely.
Question for you, and I'm sure you probably already answered it, but with the amount that we're owing the IRS now, I think we're around, what, 170?
Hey,
No, it's 233,000
233,000, I thought I saw
as
that
of the
somewhere.
7th, I believe is in my report. So
Okay.
it compounds every day.
And I'm sure you may have covered this, but with that money not being paid, it was taken out of their checks from what I understand, taken out, withdrawn. Could you really see where that money was going?
So, it's not like there's a dollar for dollar. You can track every single dollar where,
Right.
like it's like one of those things like it's just a general, you guys spent more than you had coming in. And so you know, you can look at this report and see, hey, look, we spent this amount on general government or this or that, or look at that budget versus actual report and see the different line items of things that you guys spent money on. But it's not like each dollar has its own little identification number to say, hey, this dollar was spent on, you know, milk or, you know, on the utilities or, you know, anything like that. But what you can see is just I'd say a general, you know, over expenditure, expending more than what you guys had. That money was one of the things that got expended.
Okay, so it was kind of held back, but it was taking care of other
Yeah.
stuff.
So what the way it works is, you guys pay when you withhold taxes from your employee paycheck. You know, when you get a paycheck, you don't get paid your gross pay. You get paid your net pay,
Right.
right? So that net pay is just money that the employer now owes. And so it's not that it's money that went anywhere, it was physically taken from employees. It just wasn't paid to them. You know, it's held back.
Right.
And supposed to be held and paid immediately, you know, within this, you know, every pay period. Usually if it's Friday, the next Wednesday is when you have to pay that. And that wasn't being made. So then that amount that was owed over time just grew and grew and grew.
So it was constantly being withheld, but not because, you know, we were confronted with we stole, and I didn't like that. So that's why I want clarification on that. You know, where did the money go? I know I didn't steal anything. So I want clarification on that. So it was held back, but it was, since we were over budgeted, they were spending it other places and wasn't really, I guess,
Prioritizing.
applying for the grants, they are prioritizing, just
The 9%.
made a lot of mistake, and one mistake created another mistake and another, and so forth.
But basically, you not paying it made you feel like you had more money, and you probably spent more money because it felt like you had more when you didn't.
And we weren't getting any of the budget or profit and loss or anything during that time.
Right.
So we didn't know.
No.
I mean, this commission didn't know. And if you'll remember, I hollered about that about 3 times. Let's have Edmonds come up here with finance.
And we had citizens' input to the same as well during that time. Yes, Mr. Lee?
Just a quick comment on that. If you look on page 9, you can see that your liabilities increased quite substantially during this calendar year or fiscal year. That's where a portion of that's going to show up, your taxes. But also remember, this is only 2 months of your IRS as of the end of September 30th, 2023. So when Caleb gets the fun job of doing the 2024 financial statements, you'll see this total liabilities increase for the remainder of that tax liability.
Ms. Altop, I passed out something that Palin Jones has produced for us, which is the unrestricted fund balance, and a chart showing previous years. Did she share that with you, that came from Palin Jones, and could you update that with this restricted fund balance for this audit period, if she gives that to you for validation?
Oh, sorry, say that again?
It's the unrestricted fund balance for years past, for like the last 9, 10 years. I don't have it with me tonight, I just know I passed it out. And that was provided and produced by Palin Jones.
Yes.
At my request, just so we had a track record of exactly what that unrestricted fund balance was each year ending at audit period. So could you add that for this year to that chart and have that presented to us through Ms. Altop so that we can review that? Because I don't know about the rest of you all, but this is the first time I've seen this evening, and I appreciate the report. But I certainly have my homework to go through this line by line and for further discussions in our second meeting this month. And certainly citizen input, this meeting can go on all night tonight versus the highlights that you've hit. But, you know, I'm not blaming you for presenting this report tonight this late to us, but unless you all got it earlier, I haven't reviewed this line by line, and I have, I'm sure, many questions. And we have a second meeting that we have now put on our calendar for nothing but financial statement, corrective actions, and steps and things like this, which would include anything in this, you know, for our next meeting. So if you could get that unrestricted fund balance for this fiscal year and add it to that chart and get it to Ms. Altop and validate it to make sure it's correct.
Oh, for 24, you're saying?
For all the previous years Powell and Jones has done, our fiscal year-end unrestricted fund balance. It's just in a chart.
Okay, I think I might need, I'll talk with you afterwards, how about that, and we can tell
And
you.
your previous principal,
Or, yeah,
Mr. Jones, produced that at
Yeah.
my request several years back.
okay, yeah, we can look at that together and try to come up with what you
Well,
need.
just to add what you've reported tonight for the unrestricted fund balance for year ending 9/30 of '23.
Okay.
Thanks. Any other questions from the commission for tonight?
I don't have a question, but if I could say something, Mayor Hope, I did email this out before Christmas, so I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to see it, but it was emailed out because that was part of the process we had to do, correct, Caleb? Yeah, so I would have emailed it to you. You should have received it.
So you've had time to review this before tonight?
Well, I didn't
Line
go
by-
through it line by line.
And I'm holding you to that, Commissioner White, I just,
Yeah. I went through it. I went through the findings and, yeah.
and you all is likewise? You went through it as well? Okay, please
Yes,
go
I
through.
remember seeing it and reading, and I think I went through the findings, looking at them.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And just stand by, because I'm going to open it up to the citizens for their comments and
Mr. Mayor,
queries. Yes, ma'am.
is it your intent to accept the audit tonight, or are you asking Mr. Perla to come back to the next meeting this month to accept the audit?
If he's available, I would like to act on that at the next meeting.
What's our deadline to accept the audit? Do you know it off the top
Oh,
of your
you,
head?
you,
You don't have to accept the audit.
Oh, okay, we do it in some of our other
It
cities.
is what it is.
Okay.
So it would be more a corrective step to just inquiries and questions that we might acquire from citizens' input as well between now and our next meeting, which is financial focused or whatever. So I don't know if you could avail yourself of that. Or
yeah, I just need to be made aware of the time and date so I can see if I have availability in my
All
schedule.
right, thank you.
Yep.
And I hate to drag you out longer, but it just, we waited a long time for this, so thank you.
Yeah.
What?
Has he,
Absolutely, to get all the information to produce this. I'm respectfully understanding that. When is our meeting at the end of the month, Ms. Alto?
It's January 27th at
27th.
6 PM,
At
yes.
6
But
p.m.
I know what Mayor Hope was speaking about, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So I could send it to you.
Yeah, if you just could send that to him, and then he could avail himself of that. Thank you
Yep.
very much. We will act on it at the next meeting unless you all want to act on this report tonight. So what's the will of the...
have to accept it tonight.
Okay.
We don't have to do that.
We'll just agenda that for our next meeting then, if that's possible. All right. Citizen inquiries or questions or?
Mayor Hope, before you open it to
Yes,
the
sir.
public,
Yes, sir.
just like to briefly go through management's response to the findings.
Okay.
So this is a letter that was signed by your interim city manager that's included in your findings, in your financial statements. It can be
Okay.
sent to the Auditor General. It outlines management's response to the 17 findings and the plan of action to address those.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll just go quickly unless the commission has any questions. The first finding, financial statement preparation. The city agrees that the city does not have staff on hand to prepare these financial statements, but is looking at continuously evaluating when they may be able to hire staff or contract out staff to prepare those financial statements. Page 73.
Just the start of the finding.
Guess I gotta do this too.
Okay.
Bank reconciliations, city staff also agrees with this finding. We've begun the process of completing bank reconciliations on a more timely basis. As the commission knows, I'm currently working on last fiscal year. I'm through March of 2024, and then currently working my way through the current fiscal year. But once we finish that, we will implement a policy that all bank reconciliations are completed within 4 weeks of receiving the statements. Additionally, there will be a secondary review and approval by someone other than the person who completes the reconciliation. Payroll taxes, management agrees with this finding. Deanna's been in contact with the IRS to develop a payment plan. We have been making our liability payments in a timely fashion and properly reporting our 941s beginning in October of 24. We're working on developing a payment plan with the IRS and looking at anything we can do to start making those payments. Grant tracking and timing. We've had many conversations. Management agrees with this finding. The city has had many conversations with Kimley Horn and our grant consultants about more properly applying for reimbursements and timing of reimbursements, and we are in the process of creating spreadsheets to track the numerous grants that the city currently has. Year-end cutoff, management agrees with this finding. We're continuing to find invoices that should have been entered into prior years, but we are currently posting those into the correct date, into the correct fiscal period, and I am moving any ones that I find improperly posted into the correct period. And we are training the bookkeeping staff and city staff on how to post things correctly. Water account adjustments, staff agrees with this finding. We'll develop and implement formal policies and procedures for cutoffs, write-offs, uncollectible accounts, authorization levels, and regular management service. This has also been started. I believe you have documentation in your backup tonight about this. Segregation of duties, staff also agrees with this finding. Given the limited amount of your staff, it is difficult to achieve the most ideal level of segregation of duty. However, we are implementing segregations of duties and compensating controls to the best of our ability. Recording of utility usage, we agree with this finding. Again, we're establishing policies and procedures for cutoffs and billing adjustments, as well as secondary sign-offs and approvals, and ensuring that staff is trained on how to use the metering devices as well as the software. I have been in contact with Edmunds about additional training for city staff in the utilities section. Internal balances, transfers, and payments made in incorrect funds. This is one of the items we previously discussed. Staff does agree with this finding. We are now tracking expenses appropriately between the different funds, and we will be quarterly transferring the funds between wastewater, solid waste, and the general fund. Improper tracking of employee paid time off balances. We agree with this. The city is going to implement a system to accurately track vacation and sick balances. All employees are going to be required to submit written documentation of time off used, including the city manager, and we'll have a policy documenting those as well. In addition, the city is attempting to recoup those funds from the overpaid employee. Overpayments to the former city manager, also agree with this finding. We will implement and correct the payroll setup to ensure proper configurations for salaried employees. We have also implemented additional reviews of payroll prior to payroll being processed. The city is also attempting to recoup these funds from the prior employee. Internal control over fuel, the city agrees with this finding as well. We're going to design separate tracking sheets per the auditor's recommendation for each of the fuel types, as well as install a camera at the fuel pumps. Utility payments being posted on a cash basis instead of an accrual basis. We agree with this finding. Part of this is the conversion to the new software system, which we are, as the commission knows, still working through. So we'll be manually correcting this in the meantime, but we're also working to provide additional training to city staff on how to post these payments correctly. Potential water system leakage and inefficiency. City also agrees with this finding. As I mentioned in our last meeting, I recommend hiring of an outside water company to do an audit on this. This would work to correct this issue. However, if the city chooses not to, we would expect that the Public Works Department will continue to identify and address water loss and change out aging pipes and equipment. Bless you. General care financial records. Management agrees with this finding. We are working to clean up your financial records, put into a system that has better tracking of your financial records. We've already implemented several of these corrections in terms of digital keeping of your financial records, as well as some of the paper records in a more easy to find and cared for manner. Budgetary noncompliance, city agrees with this finding as well. The city will enter its approved budget into the accounting system and regularly run reports comparing actuals to budgeted amounts. We will, before any expenditure is made, double check that the budget has appropriate funding. This is another issue that when the conversion to Edmunds is completed, I think will be addressed because Edmunds has budgetary compliance built into its software. Restricted fund balances, the city agrees with this finding. The funds were improperly spent. In fact, Deanna and I will be attending the Board of County Commissioners meeting tomorrow because the county commission is going to be requesting that the city pay back the funds that it misappropriately spent. So we are now, as of November, transferring those funds immediately upon receipt into a separate bank account and tracking them and accounting for them separately. Additionally, we'll be updating spreadsheets that show the appropriate use of those funds. So that concludes management's response to the findings. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned Edmonds a couple times, and I'm thinking back, I think it was last month, or maybe a month before, you didn't know a lot about Edmonds. You said you were more familiar with QuickBooks, but it sounds like you've kind of familiarized yourself with it. So does it sound like it will do everything that we need it to do?
Mr. Mayor, I believe, based on what I've seen, Edmonds is fully capable of doing everything the city of Archer needs it to do and more. I think you had a failed deployment. And staff didn't deploy the system correctly. But from everything I've seen while inside the system, it has all the capabilities and more I would expect to see out of a municipal finance system.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'll add to that question. Is the Edmonds program viable with the current staff? Or are we going to have to add staff to fully implement liftoff for Edmonds and .gov? I mean, I've had advice to go back to QuickBooks. Mr. Purba had a conversation with me, not holding you accountable to that conversation, but that QuickBooks might be a viable solution to be able to complete proper auditing based on our size and staffing level.
Mr. Mayor, I think it will be an uphill fight to get it implemented with your current staff. However, I believe once it's implemented, there should be nothing that prohibits your staff from using it and using it effectively. Tangi's using it already for the utility billing side of the world. One of the things we did ask the county for help with is if they could provide an IT project manager or somebody with project management experience to help with the implementation process.
And the training that's truly necessary and completed
Correct.
for our staff and by the contractor, Edmonds. Okay.
But I don't, switching an ERP system, an enterprise resource planning system, is a huge task. It is a daunting task. In my other life, people ask us to change our accounting system. I tell them
No.
the day I quit or the day I'm fired, you can do what you want, but as long as I'm here, we're not changing accounting systems.
Okay.
So it is a huge task, but I don't think it's unsurmountable.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Lee from the dais?
Yes, which means that we could have used Edmonds had somebody had the initiative to want to learn it. Am I putting you on the spot? I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I cannot speak for your former staff.
I can't.
My question is, going forward, after we complete the contract with Edmonds, I think we have like 2 more years or a year or so that we have to be with them.
2 more after this current year, yes, I think 27.
Okay, so after 27, you saying just stick with Edmonds? Is it another program that we can go to that's cheaper than Edmonds that the city may can use? Are you saying it will be a problem to change in 27 to go to something else?
It would be my goal for the city of Archer that in 2027, Edmonds is working as well as it can, and you won't want to change. Mostly because again, it'd be a really big hassle to switch accounting systems again. I will also say, based off of my experience, what you're paying for Edmonds is a really good deal. Accounting systems for governments are very, very expensive. I got quoted one not too long ago for $650,000. So I would say in 2 years, let's hope that Edmonds is fully functional and staff knows how to use it like the back of their hands.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. You've been doing thank you so much, Dallas. You've been doing a tremendous job. And
Yeah.
I want to say, I feel a lot better now about Edmonds.
Me too. Me too. And that's
But
what.
thank you
that's
so
what I
much.
was-
You've been doing a great job for us, and we appreciate you so much.
I second that, because I was actually gonna say the same thing, because I was feeling like maybe we made a huge mistake, and now I'm thinking that it just took some initiative to figure out some stuff. So thank you.
Edmunds is a very well-known product in the industry. It's not a, mom and pop type software. A lot of municipalities use it and use it very successfully.
Usually larger municipalities, so,
I've seen them kind of all.
okay.
And you,
I'm just asking, I'm just based on your research.
I guess it depends on your level of knowledge.
What's
I
that?
guess it depends on the level of knowledge for,
And training.
and training.
Implementation.
And since you've been working the Edmunds system, I'm assuming you're working it, Tandy, have they been receptive to helping you?
Yes, I have spoken to Ed, I forget the gentleman's name, I think he's the vice president. We're currently paused on any additional Edmunds work with the goal of getting everything in QuickBooks to a place where we can transition it to Edmunds with clean data. I don't want to put bad data into the system, but every conversation I've had with them, they've been very helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the dais to Mr. Lee tonight? Before you leave, are you available on our next meeting to be present, or you have a conflict on the 27th?
Mr. Mayor, I always have a conflict on your meeting night.
On
And
Mondays.
I need to leave shortly to go to Newberry's meeting,
Okay.
but I can be here from 6 to 7.
Okay.
And depending on what items I have on the agenda.
The logic behind me asking you that is, this evening, I'm sure citizens have a lot of questions, inquiries, the what-ifs. If you can avail yourself on that first hour, then we certainly can allow citizen input once they.
I am here tonight for as long as you need me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Other citizens who have specific questions or points of interest? Thank you.
Karen Fiore, citizen.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I have some questions. I'm just going to go through all my notes, but if you could please, out of respect, have the two gentlemen answer the questions once I'm done, that'd be helpful for.
Okay, and you have those documented this evening as you share them with us, so you can provide those?
I'm just going to read them. No, I didn't provide it in an email or anything.
Okay, but, I mean, could you send that to Ms. Altop, so that anything that's not directly questioned and
Sure.
answered tonight, then you can, due diligence, we can get at least an
Sure.
opinion for this, and thank you, Karen.
Yep, thank you. So before I can get started on the 23 audit, I needed to bring up some items for the 22 audit. So the 22 audit, it was issued on May 29, 2023. And yet there's no mention in that audit about the lag in the timing for that audit to be done. So that was 8 months after your fiscal year ended. So I don't understand why there was no note in the 22 audit. And then in fiscal year 22, the final budget amendment was June 12th of 2023. So your requirement is 60 days after your close of your fiscal year. So May or June was way out. And then if you look at your budgetary comparison, that's your budget to actual for 22, that budget, the adopted budget, does not mirror what your adopted budget for fiscal year 22 was under Resolution 2021-23. So they don't match, and I don't understand the reason why. And so for 23 audit, throughout the document, Cindy Thomas's title is addressed as finance director. Her correct title was account specialist. It's just keeping things clean there. It should be corrected. The document also uses the term towns, referring to Archer, and Archer is not a town. Archer is a city, so I would think that those probably should be adjusted on page 28 and 52. On page 26, my question to the auditors would be allowance for doubtful accounts. This number of 40,180 is the exact same number that's in your fiscal year 22 audit. And then if you skip to page 36, the allowance for doubtful accounts, that number is 11,692, and that too is the same for fiscal year 22 and 23, and I just don't understand the reasoning why it would be. There's probably a reason, but I just don't know. Budgeting comparison schedule, the general fund, again, just like 22, the adopted budgets that's listed in this schedule does not match what you adopted for fiscal year 23. Your adopted 23 budget was $1,062,992, and this audit has $1,055,367. So you have like $7,600 difference, and I just don't know the reason why 2 years in a row for the ones I looked at, they don't match what you adopted. And that means that if your budgetary highlights that are included in that budget are incorrect if that's not comparing to your actual adopted budget. Plus the budgetary comparison schedule on page 47, you have some formatting issues with your final budget positive negative, that last column. You're missing the variance with final budget. And then there's a note on page 50, budgetary comparison. It states prior to November 1st, the budget is legally enacted through passage of an ordinance. I thought this was October 1st, so I don't understand what the November 1st number meant or date is. On page 63, the independent accounts report, I believe there's a typo. It reads September of 22, and I believe it should, shouldn't that read September 23? It's, right now it says September 22nd, or 22. And then I just wanted to say on the findings on 2023-04, this was in reference to the year-end cutoffs. It reads that bills being held onto until funds were available for payment. So my question is, was that a statement from our staff? Because if it was, that means that staff was purposely lying to the Commission and the citizens all year, so they knew that they didn't have the funding to pay those bills, but yet we were told the whole year that it was just software issues. Finding 5, the water. What is significant write-offs? What was found? When you use the word significant, so I'm making a public records request that I would like to have all of those amounts that were found as being significant and with the names associated with those accounts. Transfers for finding 8. I don't understand why this isn't considered a note as a non-compliance. The transfers were not going to the commission as a budget amendment, and I would think that those should. For the 2023-09 and 2023-10, staff said they're addressing it by trying to recoup these funds. My question is what was the action that was taking place to try to recoup those funds? And the last 2 comments, the fuel finding, staff said they will have that corrected by April 1st of 2025. I was just curious why that's such a long ways out. And then 2023-16, the restricted fund balance. Again, staff said they're going to do a tracking spreadsheet, and recommendation was to review it quarterly by the city manager. And I'm just curious why we wouldn't want to do that monthly. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you. And Ms. Fiore, if you would send that to Ms. Altop, so she could forward that to Mr. Purva, so you don't have to sit up here and memorize all that. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Good evening, Bill Lewandowski.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to direct your attention to, I think it's page 64 in the PDF. I don't have the printed document. So this is the communication with those charged with governance. It's page 64 in the PDF, and then it has a couple of pages, and it goes on to the schedule of findings. So I have some general comments on that, but in case you want to glance over that.
Page again.
It's page 59. Thank you. Page 59 in the book, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the PDF document. That's it, yes, that's it. So as you glance through these findings for material weaknesses and then go to the other findings that are in here, as an unfortunate attorney Adams left. So from my non-attorney perspective, what I see is gross negligence. I also see, again, from my non-attorney perspective, the possibility of some criminal issues here. So I urge you to get with the attorney and to take a look at this. And if there is a hint of criminality, it should be referred to the attorneys general on this. People stood before you and lied. I know Commissioner Penny and Commissioner Green were upset because you felt your reputations were impinged, rightfully so. But people did that to you, okay? It wasn't the citizens who screwed around with the money. It was people working for you who did that. And the other thing I want to make, real people are going to be hurt by this. You like to waive fees for the center? There's a real possibility you may have to shut that down if you don't have the right funds for it. There's a possibility that you're going to have to cut back on services. Real people are being hurt by what happened here. It's not just the reputations, it's not just the stress that goes along. And I've been in your chair, so I get it. I really do. But real people, real citizens will be hurt, and someone should pay. Honest to God, someone should pay. And if you let people walk away from gross negligence and the potential for criminality, shame on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewandowski. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hello. Only 3 minutes, that's tough. Commissioner Hope, the packet that you have, is that something different than what was put on the website on Friday, or was it Thursday?
You talking about the audit?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the same audit. There was one small change, but I re-uploaded the audit.
Did you put that on there, when was that on the website, the agenda?
Thursday.
Thursday, okay. So you haven't had a chance to look at it from Thursday till now. The audit in particular, not good, bad, very bad? What do you think?
Yeah, not good.
Not good. Really bad, probably, right? Okay. We're way past talking about cell phone bills and roosters. I assure you that. Getting into the audit, the first page, which would be page number 5, I'm going to read this. There were potentially fraudulent errors related to payroll accounting errors that resulted in the posting of expenses to incorrect funds and departments and lack of justification for the allocation of expenses. Fraud is mentioned numerous times in this report, along with theft. These are bold words. Bold words. Page number 9, due to improperly spent restricted funds. Page 10, net position decreased $259,000, an increase in utility expenses and decrease in water and sewer revenue. Page 62, 2 months of outstanding payroll taxes were not paid. So it already started back then. Page 62, trend of increasing operating losses each of the past 3 years. This hasn't just happened this year. There's been a trend of money leaving. It's not good. Number 64, page 64, encountered significant difficulties, experienced delays to essential reports, provided inaccurate reports, issues with availability of staff. Page 66, bank reconciliation delayed, create possible fraud, payroll taxes not being paid, interest and penalties, grant tracking, lack of communication with the engineers who were responsible for submitting reimbursements. The people that want $350,000 weren't helping us get our reimbursements. Wow. Water account adjustments, significant write-offs. That's a big problem. I don't know who's writing it off. Furthermore, who's collecting the cash to take the cash to the bank and then also putting the deposits in the software? One person, I believe. That reeks of fraud. Not good. That goes to the segregation of duties, which this gentleman encapsulated. Employee paid time off. The former city manager got 266 hours of vacation in 1 year, and then it goes on, I didn't understand, 150 hours. I don't know if he got 150 hours more or back. I didn't understand that, but it seems like a lot. And then there's no written documentation of anything, of any time off. Okay? Then he just gets an overpayment of close to $10,000 of just a check. Any of y'all get an extra check and don't report that? That seems like it'd be a big deal to say, hey, I got paid an extra check. The water leakage. He mentions the word water theft. The budget non-compliance. Of course, we all know expenditures greatly exceeded the appropriated budget. I could go on and on. This is criminal stuff here. Really is.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Anyone else? What's that? I'm sorry, what's that? Okay. Okay, next on our agenda is public announcements. We have any?
We have the MLK program on the 20th, so I think that's Monday coming. I think that's Monday coming. Where is it? Oh, I didn't see it.
You want to announce it?
Thank you. Yeah, you're up again.
So January 20th, we are celebrating Martin Luther King Day. So they're at the community center. The start time is at 11 a.m. And so we have some guests coming in, speakers, singers, just some line of entertainment, and just a celebration for us to come together and to commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. King.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Anyone else with announcements?
Mr. Mayor, I'm Rob Lash, representing R.E. Arnold Construction, and I assume that this is also open for public comments, correct? That's where we are at this
No,
point?
sir, it's public announcements
Okay,
at this
all right,
time,
I'm
just
sorry.
announcements.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Comments will come later. Thank you. How are you, Ms. Skinner?
Good, thank you. Brenda Skinner, resident. I'm here to represent the First Archer United Methodist Church, and I would like to invite all the commissioners as well as all of the citizens. This Friday night, we are having a free community dinner. We will be having a chili supper with all the fixins and desserts, and followed by karaoke. It's from 5:30 to 7 for dinner and 7 till whenever for karaoke. So come have fun, food, and fellowship.
Thank you, Ms. Skinner, very much.
Roberto Lopez, I know that it is early, but I want to announce that on February the 22nd, the Bethlehem Methodist Episcopal Cemetery Restoration Organization will have a program at the Archer Community Center from 10 in the morning until about 2:30 or 3. And what we are doing, the theme for that is Archer Black History and Beyond. And the reason we said beyond is because we want to show some history all over Archer from all parts of Archer. And that includes white, black, green, whatever. So we are asking you to please show up because we have a renowned speaker. Her name is Ida Booth from Tampa, Florida. We also going to put on a PowerPoint presentation that will actually show you places around Archer and the area that we feel that are significant and that they represent Archer's Black history. We also will have a children's activity, a youth activity, where we're going to get the kids doing something. We don't know what it's going to be. Maybe I'll be Dr. Martin Luther King since I did attend that march. Sorry, but that's what we're doing. Thank you.
And that time is 10 to 3 on February 22nd? Thank you.
So please come. We're not charging.
Pastor Walker, you have an event coming up at the church also that's open to the public. Your wife is doing it.
The tea thing?
Yes.
Yes. It is
I forgot the name of it.
Galentine.
That's it.
Yes, it's basically for women. It is open to the public, but there is a ticket sale of $10, I believe. It'll be held at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church for all the women that would like to come. It'll be just a women get together. It's a sort of like a tea party theme, So you dress nice in your Tea Party outfits and be a part. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor.
Did you give a date?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The date is February 8th. February 8th at 11. Yes,
I thought it
February.
was a cute idea, that's
Yeah.
why I wanted him to announce it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Anyone else? Okay, the next item is our public comment period.
We'll try it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, first of all, congratulations on appointing the mayor. And I've submitted a document to the city attorney regarding a project which will be forthcoming. I'm going to be talking about it at a later point, but I think it's important to bring up the information now under public comment. And we've asked that the mayor recuse himself from any information relating to what's going to be upcoming, the R.E. Arnold construction project before this committee. And the reason being is because of your past history with the property itself. I've submitted enough information, and again, I don't really want to go into it in great detail, but I'm asking that you actually voluntarily recuse yourself from any issues relating to that particular project and/or any related issues related to it, including perhaps the moratorium. If you'd like some additional information, I'm sure we can provide that for the committee before the diocese. If you'd like it, we can. But I'm asking that you do that yourself.
Okay, the answer that I can provide you right now is that I have no bearing on anything in that company or transaction from February of 2019 to present. None. None. Did not own it, did not transact anything, and so therefore, representing as a public servant for this community, what's best for this community, it has no bearing on that business and what happened between my exit 2019 in February until present. There is no impropriety, there is no allurement of personal gain, or I think the document you're talking about speaks of begrudgment. That's an opinion.
Bias.
There is absolutely no basis for that, because I have been silent until the point of reviewing something that was, a public review with feedback, and that basis for that decision is very clear on my position as a commissioner representing the whole city of Archer and its community.
Well, I think we would certainly err differently in that area as well.
Yes, sir. And if you're speaking about a web page that is from city manager, can you tell me the age of that bio that's on file that the gentleman is speaking of, some of the documentations he's presented, I think last evening or whatever, I think the date on it was the 12th. Is that from 2010?
Yes, Mayor, hope it would have been prior to my employment.
And I am the only bio that's still existing on that web, which is unfortunate that it hasn't been updated, but that has no basis for any of the begrudgment statements that your opinion or your representative is speaking of. There is no basis for that, sir.
It actually goes further than that particular issue as well, and I think the issue goes back to the time period when you were part owner of the property and how you lost that property under foreclosure.
That is through an allongement obligation to a bank that they knew the transaction between the owner and his sale to Mr. Arnold was through allongement and collateral-based loans from a bank that was secured and invested by Mr. Ken McGurn and his wife Linda McGurn. And those collateral losses to my wife and I is 50% ownership in that company through allongement was debt service that was provided and given to Ken McGurn and Linda McGurn for their transaction and whatever sale they wanted that happened to be Mr. Arnold as an opportunity for him. I had no basis for any information on that. The financial position of the company allowed for the exit of me in February 19 to have further investment from other parties. I can get into some impropriety and some of the transferring of EPA permits and things like that was pretty much illegal for that as even an offer for my son, who was the next owner of that business, and its new entity and new name had nothing to do with Maddox Foundry Machine Works LLC, that my wife and I left in February of 2019.
Well, it's for those reasons in itself that we're claiming and we're suggesting that there may be potential bias as to what's going on in this property, as how your son was dealt with, how you were dealt with, how the
My
property.
son was dealt with by Mr. Ari Arnold. It has no basis for, and that was between my son as the new owner of the new Maddox entity that did not even have that name as he continued to operate that business, sir. And I had no bearing or information with that at all. Had no.
Illegal.
Ma'am,
Has this gone on long enough? I mean, I feel like we're getting carried away with this.
Well, he asked for an answer, and what was my position, and I've given my
And you've
position.
given him an answer.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
not going to do it right now. Is that sufficient?
I don't know if Mr. Lash got his full 3 minutes, candidly. I would give him another minute or so to let him
Certainly,
wrap up
just to
his
respond
comments.
back to me, but I mean, you asked for an answer, and I've given it to you, sir, in the basis.
And again, our suggestion is that there could be a potential bias. We're trying to avoid that potential for long-term effect.
Yes, sir.
And what effect it would have on this commission in the event that we could show that there's a significant bias, which we believe there could be. And I know in listening to your original opening and your prayer, you talked about honesty and moving forward and all those sorts of things.
Yes, sir.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is to prevent the possibility of anything happening in the future that could reflect on what happens today. So in that regard, we still believe that it would be in the best interest of you and also the commission to recuse yourself in this particular situation.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Hello, guys. Been a long time.
Hey,
I'm
that's
Melanie Wells, former commissioner. I just have a few questions and a couple of things, Deanna, I'm probably going to have to get with you on. And for the moratorium, I want you to know, I totally agree with that, you know. But I would like to know how many bad water meters we have and when we're going to get them repaired. When is the city going to advertise for a city manager and a new accountant? Or if we are. Also, when will we completing last year's budget? And when we pay our utility bills, our water bill, I want to know why when I pay it on the 5th of last month, it didn't clear the bank until the 24th. I paid it on the 2nd of this month, and it is yet to clear. And if it happened once or twice, okay. But this is an ongoing happening where I don't understand why the checks are not being deposited. Also, this is one of them I'm going to have to get with you. The big trucks on 139th, I live on Sugar Sand. UPS, Waste Pro, that's a given. But FedEx, you know, but they're tearing up the roads, and the water main is literally, the top of the water main is showing, and the concrete around it is showing because of those big trucks.
What street is that? Again, 139th?
139th Avenue.
Avenue, thank you.
Is the dirt road part. Sorry. Also, now it's been over a year and things have been happening, so I haven't, this is another thing. I have a flush valve, and I had talked to Mr. Hammond, I think over a year ago. It has not been fixed. And it's still, the line had been cut, and it's still not fixed. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Manager Alltop, could you make notes of what she said about 139th and just have public works staff go and review that, and also the flush valve that she's speaking of?
Yeah, I wrote everything down.
Thank you,
Yes,
so that we can provide you a response. Thank you, Ms. Wells. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening again, Bill Lewandowski,
Yes, sir.
citizen, okay? I've mentioned to this commission many times the potential need for retraining of members of our planning commission. After going through the meeting last week, that requirement has been reemphasized to me. So for example, much of the conversation at that meeting discussing the moratorium by the commissioners had to do with whether or not they trusted you to be able to complete the review of the code on time. For example, one of the commissioners accused another commissioner at the end of the meeting of an ethics violation inappropriately. And your counterpart argued with her for quite a while to try to calm her down, to explain why that was incorrect. The one thing that really wasn't discussed at this thing was the consistency with the comprehensive plan. You, sir, know more than anybody else, being on the Regional Planning Commission, that not the sole purpose, but the primary purpose of a planning commission is to be the keeper of the comprehensive plan. And the things that come before them have to be reviewed in that light, and it wasn't. And I refer you to Florida Statute 163.3174, local planning agency, where it specifically says, review proposed land development regulations and development codes or amendments thereto, and make recommendations to the governing body as to consistency of the proposal with the adopted comprehensive plan. And that proposal, zoning ordinances, moratoriums, all have to go to that. We need to get back to that. We need to stop having opinions about other people and look at the comprehensive plan, because that's why we have it. And I would also argue tonight that that's your primary role, is to look at the comprehensive plan, because that's what it's for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I'm sorry.
I'm not going to interrupt anybody, I just have a quick question for Deanna.
Thank you for your patience, Mr. Arnold.
The planning and zoning, and we don't have a codes board anymore, but they are appointed every 2 years?
They're supposed to be staggered, but I know with COVID, it
Yeah.
probably is time
So
to
can
look
we
at some.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to look at that.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Arnold. Welcome.
My name is Ronnie Arnold. I own R.E. Arnold Construction here in Gainesville. I also own the property, Maddox property. Talking about the comprehensive plan right now is just amazing. I am blown out of the water. We've listened to the financial audit and Mr. Dallas Lee's reply on it, and then and we have a gentleman that still wants to push comprehensive plan. This is not the time. This is not the time. We are in a financial emergency, and we should concentrate on just that. Just that. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Anyone else?
Yes, I'm Charles Tufano, resident. Yes, I would like to talk about the comprehensive plan. It is important that we discuss that now. True, we're in a financial bind, but we've been in a bind for how many years now? And the comprehensive plan and the disconnect with our zoning ordinances is going to make our future worse if we don't address those things now. And the citizens had no input when that heavy industrial area was zoned back in 2021. There was no public comments. And the city of Archer is for the residents, not the business people, the residents. We live here, and we should have some say in that. And the comprehensive plan is that broad view of where Archer wants to be in the future. It is very important we address that now. And true, we've got financial issues. We're working through those. But we need to stop whatever future issues. We could make mistakes now by not moving forward with the moratorium and reviewing those two things that we're talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Tufano.
Thank you.
Hello again, Ms. Skinner.
Hello. I'm the squirrel that's going in a totally different direction. I had the opportunity today to go around town and put flyers up. And as I did so, I also had the opportunity to watch trucks, cars, etc., going up and down the main roads in our town. I watched 3 children walk up and down the main highway out here. Not sure why they weren't in school, but they weren't. And I also saw them trying to cross the road at one point. They had a hard time doing it. And that was because vehicles were going so fast down the main road. I watched a tractor-trailer truck that I know was not going 30 miles an hour. I watched a construction truck, a big, heavy, no, it was not an Arnold truck. I know that for a fact, Mr. Arnold. But I watched it go down the road at about 45 miles an hour. And I actually yelled at him, "Slow down." He looked at me like I was crazy. Because he was trying to make that light that was red when he passed me down by the library and was going to be green when he got down there. But this has been going on for a long time. And I would appreciate it if this commission could ask the Alachua County Sheriff's Department if they could make a little bit more of a presence in our town and see what we can do about getting the traffic in this town to do the speed limit before somebody gets killed crossing the roads out on that main highway or even on some of our side roads here, especially since we've got so much construction going on in this town right now, and we've got a lot of hot rods in this town right now.
Thank you.
Rhonda Robertson, resident. I would like to reiterate my opposition to heavy industry of any kind within the city limits of Archer, especially in the downtown area. I do support the one-year moratorium on industrial use applications. I do not oppose a commercial business. All cities have commercial district areas and they're needed. By definition, a concrete batch plant is exactly that, heavy industry. A representative who spoke at the recent planning and zoning meeting used the term dirty industry, which aptly describes the concrete industry, in my opinion. I have personal experience with that industry. I not only worked at a concrete and block plant, I lived within walking distance for nearly 3 years. It was not pleasant then, and no one is going to convince me it will be any different now. A one-year moratorium on industrial applications will give you commissioners the time to decide what your vision is for the city of Archer. I love Archer because it is a walkable city. Now that the loose dog situation has been mostly resolved, and I thank you all for that. My vision is for businesses, or the types of businesses that will actually benefit Archer with goods and services provided within the city. 1 year sounds like a long time, but it certainly is not when so many decisions on many fronts need to be made, and these processes take time. You all have a tough job ahead of you, finding ways to make the city solvent once again, while continuing to handle the day-to-day business as usual and listening to us passionate citizens. Thank you for hearing us out. I certainly don't envy your positions and the hard decisions you are going to have to soon make. The future of Archer is in your hands. A member of the Planning and Zoning Commission made the comment that justice is for all as she voted against the moratorium. What about justice for the residents of Archer who in good faith bought or built their homes in Archer with thoughts of retirement or a peaceful, quiet, and safe place to raise their children? I hope you all take the time and make the right decisions for the city of Archer and all of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson.
Good evening, Roberto Lopez. I totally agree with the young lady that spoke in the back about the traffic on our roads. I live on 131st, but when I go out towards Bronson, I turn on 174th, and that road is between Santa Fe College, a few hundred feet from the west, and so many feet not too far from Mr. Arnold's retention pond on the right. Well, When I come up and down that road, in addition to the drug dealers, having to deal with them flying down that road and running me off the road, and that is a fact. As a matter of fact, I made a report on that today because it's not right. I also ask that I get a slow down or a 15-mile-an-hour sign to go in that little portion between 174th and 131st. Because what is happening, and it's not black people. Black people down there, I don't think they have big Jeeps and SUVs and all these. They have SUVs, but they don't have all these fancy cars that, and I see them, okay? But coming up on Archer Road on 174th, that is the worst exit in the world. Because I'm getting all of Watson trucks, everybody else's trucks that's coming up and down that road, and I mean they're flying. And to speak about what she said, one truck the other day was actually pushing me, trying to make me go faster to the 20-mile-an-hour zone going towards Gainesville. So I put on my flashing lights, you know, the ones that flash when you're in emergency. And he backed up a little bit. But this is so scary, and it happens all the way up that road. And when you think about, like I just explained, Mr. Arnold's tension pond is here, and they were talking about doing the batch plant that the water would come up underneath the highway and go into his ponds. I don't want that. That's going into my neighborhood. It's going into, it's just taken away from, I don't know, it's just taken away from everything if that should happen, and we should have a retention pond right there. So what I'm saying is, we need regulations. When I was a mayor and commissioner, I made sure that we had a comprehensive plan. I remember walking through the city myself with kids from the University of Florida, graduate students, putting together plans for this city. What happened to all of that? Because I retired in 2012, a lot of things I just don't really know. But I'm asking that, you know, we need to do the right thing and make sure that we're protecting our city, we're protecting our people, and we're getting them out of danger.
Right.
And I'm asking the city now to call up the county public works and just say, will y'all loan me a sign to go on 174th and slow those people down that's coming through there? Because the way the road is situated, I could be killed. I mean, that's how fast they go. And Mr. Arnold, I've been kind of going on your land to get around, you know, the dirt that's on that road. We also need,
Ms. Lopez, your time is up.
we
Thank
also
you.
need some dirt on that road and some other things, potholes filled.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Lori Bernardo, and I live in the city limits, and I don't agree with heavy industry in city limits. I'm from down south originally, and the heavy industry was always outside of city limits. It was never in the middle of the town, and I just don't think it's appropriate. We don't even have the infrastructure. The roads are not very good. We don't have big wide, in Archer, they have wide, Archer Road. And I think that we should rethink the zoning in Archer and do the right thing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if
Yes,
I
ma'am.
could remind you and everyone that the moratorium itself is an agenda item,
Yes,
at
ma'am.
which point public comment will be afforded, so public
Good
comment
enough.
during public comment should be for things not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Or save it for public comment regarding this specific decision about the moratorium, which is coming up next. Thanks, Bob, for your understanding. And it's just to expedite so that we have that position to be able to speak to that, both parties, all parties. Thank you, Madam Attorney. Anyone else for public comment outside the moratorium agenda item coming up? Okay. Next on our agenda is planning calendar.
Yes, Mayor
Ms.
Hope.
Altott?
The City Hall will be closed on Monday, January 20th, observation of MLK Junior holiday. There's a City Commission meeting on Monday, January 27th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. City Commission meeting, actually this it should, oh, yeah, it should say Junior City Commission.
So on the 27th is agenda.
Yeah, item C needs to come off, my apologies. So the Junior City Commission will be at 6 p.m. and the City Commission at 6:30 on Monday, February 10th at City Hall.
Okay, thank you. Old business, agenda item 1, ordinance number 05, 2024, declaring a moratorium on the acceptance of applications and processing of applications for industrial uses for a period of 1 year. Madam Attorney, before we act, would you provide opinion and/or clarification on exactly what this ordinance would do?
I would, and I would also like to read it into the record first if you're amenable to that.
Yes, ma'am, I would like you to read it and its completion, please.
This is ordinance number 05-2024, an ordinance of the City of Archer, Florida, declaring a moratorium on the acceptance of applications and processing of applications for industrial uses for a period of 1 year, providing for prohibition, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date, providing an expiration date. Mr. Mayor, this is the culmination of the request that you all made back in November of North Central Florida Regional Planning Council to come back with a moratorium. And I think that North Central Florida Regional Planning Council has done their best based upon the conversations that night. However, my interpretation of the conversations that night, I think differ. And so some things that I would like to bring to your attention. First and foremost, this is retroactive, the way that it's written currently, to November 12th, I believe, 2024, where by time of passage we'll be into February 2025 by the time this gets passed. That means you've eaten 4 months of your 1 year moratorium, and we haven't even gotten started. So first and foremost, my recommendation would be that if you opt to pass any form of a moratorium tonight, in obviously first read, my suggestion would be that you make it prospective as opposed to retroactive. So that's my first comment on it. My second is that my understanding of the conversation from the dais, and this isn't just limited to the November 12th meeting, but rather other meetings, conditional use permit hearings, my understanding from this commission has been that the real issue is the conditional uses permitted in industrial. And if that is the case, my recommendation would be that this needs to be more narrowly tailored. Doing a blanket moratorium on industrial uses is not going to be legally defensible if what we're trying to really accomplish is just to address the conditional uses that are permitted in industrial and make that sync with our comp plan. So you can request North Central Florida Regional Planning Council bring back an ordinance for your review, and it would come back on first read because it's a substantial change between 1 and 2. So when you have a substantial change, you don't just get to go to 2 and then you pass it, you actually go back to 1. So our office's recommendation at minimum is to have it not be retroactive, have it be prospective, and to narrowly tailor it to address only a moratorium on conditional use permits in industrial areas. The other information I would posit to you is that I think Dallas kind of touched on it tonight, that him, Deanna, and I think a couple of are you planning on going tomorrow, Commissioner White? I'm planning on going. So we're going before the county tomorrow to ask for help. One of those things is planning help. So at this point in time, we don't even know if we're going to have planning help. And so I would caution you to put yourselves into a place where a moratorium is enacted and we don't have a planner. At that point in time, I struggle. Obviously, our office would defend this city until the whole thing burns to the ground, but we don't want that to happen, and we don't want to end up in unnecessary litigation right now, especially given the financial status of the city. So to cover, where you guys can go tonight, your P&Z board declined to adopt the resolution recommending the ordinance for approval tonight in a 3-2 vote. It was important for you all to know that they had declined, or recommended denial, rather. So your options tonight are you can follow suit, and you can also, no movement on this ordinance tonight, nothing whatsoever. You can instruct my office to work with North Central Florida Regional Planning Council to come back with an ordinance that's not retroactive and more specific.
As part of the comp plan
As part of the comp plan
as we do
review.
every 2 years if we're on time in a 7-year cycle required.
Correct, so we would just,
2019 was the last amendment to the comp plan.
and we
So
would be
we're-
limiting it to those conditional uses, because that was really the commentary we heard that night. We heard it from citizens, and I apologize, Mr. Arnold, I'm using your hearing as an example, so I'm sorry. But the commentary was if you would just put it in a building, well, that's a permitted use. And at that point, it didn't sound like there was as much uproar about that, and it's still an industrial use, an industrial zoned area. However, it's when you start doing things outside that you require that conditional use permit, and that's the only thing in your code in terms of industry that requires a conditional use permit. So I think that if you zeroed in, that is really the gripe that there was that night, is this incompatibility between your code and the comp plan as it relates to conditional uses permitted in industrial.
The way it was written since its last amendment in
Right.
2019.
The other option is, of course, you can make different changes to it tonight, or you can approve it as written. I'll advise you, and I'm comfortable saying this from the dais, that I have concerns about not the legality, because you're able to do this, but the defensibility as written. So that would be the city attorney's input, and probably a little long-winded, so I apologize.
And for summarizing, it would still allow us, and again, I'm emphasizing the fact that we're amending and reviewing our comp plan as recommended every 2 to 4 years in a 7-year cycle.
Nothing stops you from doing that in the interim.
And as we look at economic development and planning, we're listening to citizen input on something that's specific to this CUP. And-
Correct. You know, those are
with
things that you
clear
can,
definition,
yes.
which is the concern.
Correct, and your comp plan amendments don't need to be limited to just
No.
the conditional use permit. But for purposes of the moratorium, what was expressed was the concern about more conditional use permit applications,
Seems
given the incongruous nature between the code and your comp
And
plan.
your comp plan.
And the
Thank
fact is, I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's right.
The fact is, and I know that y'all aren't gonna believe this, but my concern is I can look at the comp plan and use our conditional use permit and deny anything. Anything. We need to look at all of it, and
And this
that's
exercise,
for the fairness to everybody.
in this exercise is not to not continue a plan for economic development as we prepare for the wastewater system. I mean, they go hand in hand, and listening to our citizenry, it's very necessary. It could have been necessary a year ago, but we weren't firm on shovel-ready phase 1 of a wastewater system. I just went to the Legislative Appropriations Committee and defined what we were trying to do and what timeline we were on. So this is just another exercise in that as well. So I'm being clear to those that have an interest in investing their industry, business, commercial application in the city limits.
And when you look at losing 4 months already,
There's some fairness and equity
Yeah.
issues involved,
for that reason,
and that's,
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion that we send this back to legal and ask them to work with North Florida on a prospective instead of retroactive. And also the comp plan and conditional use permit.
and focus on the conditional use permit.
And you're,
Definition.
for purposes of clarification, Mr. Mayor, the moratorium would just be on conditional use permits in industrial areas.
Right.
Okay.
The specificity regarding that and bring it back to us for first read. Right?
Understood. You have a motion on the floor.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission regarding the revised plan of what we're trying to do?
None from me.
None?
None from me.
Commissioner Green? No?
No, I think it's pretty clear
Okay.
that we go with what has been advised tonight
Okay.
by our lawyer, so I'm good with that.
Commissioner Kathy Penny?
I have none. So we technically like tabling this till you go back, and when would you bring this back to us?
That would be a Sandra Joseph question. I don't want to put her in a box from North Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
But we would still utilize North Central Florida Planning Council because of the contractual opportunity they have. It's not at $150,000 or $235,000 expense for review, and to get this completed, it's within our contractual partnership with North Central Florida Planning Council and their master planners.
Correct. Commissioner Penny, I would guess either the next meeting or the following meeting would come back for first read. It would be prepped by then. But yes, to answer your question, it's almost like tabling it tonight. Because there's a,
clarification, perspective, plan forward, and with specificity to CUP as it relates to industrial zone.
right, right.
Which is the
Is a vote
message our
in and of
citizenry is
itself.
talking about.
Does that make sense?
And also, Alachua County's meeting tomorrow, and we.
It's our planning
they're gonna-
step to
yeah,
define that clearly
they are
based on the
supposed to
decision
be
we make.
addressing, several things with Archer, is my understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
The administration.
Yeah.
30.
I personally wouldn't want to leave this so broad anyway. I think it's just a little bit too broad.
It's counter to our
but
economic
it-
development
but, yeah,
commitment
so
for Archer
I personally
for the last
wouldn't
2
want
years.
that anyway, so.
Plus. Okay. All right, citizen input? You're on, Mr. Lewandowski.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
With all due respect, Attorney Adams, you should not be representing what the citizens want. All due respect. When we were speaking about things like enclosed versus enclosed, it was within the context of the CUP. So that's why that discussion was there. We could not argue whether or not they could be in an enclosed building because that's with permitted use. But the issue, there's two issues. One is the CUP. Without a doubt, the CUP process is broken. What's the issue with the comprehensive plan? It was passed after, not before, after the changes were done to the land use ordinances. And the state statute and how things are done with comprehensive plan is very clear. You have the comprehensive plan, and then you pass your land use ordinances. As a matter of fact, I think it's objective I-4. I can go back and look, but I have the objective. In our comprehensive plan, it specifically states what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to pass the comprehensive plan and then come up and uses the word innovative ordinances. I haven't seen any innovative ordinances lately since that was passed, so that's absolutely wrong. That's not what happened. There are issues with the way things are written. For example, in all of the industrial areas, you have restrictions on commercial business. You can have a automotive repair facility. You can't have a non-automotive repair facility. You can't have retail stores. There's all types of restrictions. And I would make the argument you could actually have more money if you had commercial and industrial mixed use in some of these areas. There's also issues with things like junkyards. And I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but if the industrial owners wanted to do that, they could make junkyards in all of those areas if they wanted to. And I don't think anybody wants that. So yes, there are definite issues in regards to the industrial uses. Definite issues in there. And the biggest issue is we did it wrong. So now you're arguing what we should do is we should redo the comprehensive plan yet again, and I guess we won't bother changing the ordinances either. Come on, let's get this straight. It was done wrong before, let's do it right. Yes, go back to the commission and ask them to readjust the timeline. Absolutely agree with that. But in regards to not putting industrial review on the table, no. I can tell you the citizens are against that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewandowski.
I thought that was clear. This was for industrial, conditional use industrial. And,
Microphone.
I apologize.
And close to your mouth, please. Sorry. Thank you.
Was I clear? I mean, did y'all understand that? I didn't mean to start over with the comprehensive plan, but let's do it right this time. I don't care if it does start over with the
And
comp plan.
focus
Let's
on
do
the
it right this
CUP
time.
process
And-
relating to industrial zone.
And by doing it this way, we have a year to do it, so, and I don't think you were representing the citizens, I think you were representing us, and I appreciate it, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, hi, Charles Tufano. Mr. Lewandowski was correct. It is objective 1.4 of our comprehensive plan that says the city must adopt the comprehensive plan first, envisions our future, and then we would implement the zoning ordinances around it. And I also agree, Attorney Adams, with no disrespect, the citizens of Archer do not want a heavy industrial area in the center of their town. Okay, irrespective of whether it's indoor or outdoor, the citizens of Archer who live here and reside here and look for this to be their home to come back to and decompress from the long days at work. We do not want, and the zoning indicates that. And again, as I had pointed out before, in 2021, when we created that second zone, we only had industrial at the time. Now we have industrial and heavy industrial. The citizens of Archer had no input, and we need to have input. So I would agree, we should definitely proactively change this timeline, but we should keep it to a point where we look at the entire comprehensive plan and all the zoning that goes with it, not just the CUPs. Because again, it opens us up, you could have junkyards, you could have things in the center of our city that you just don't want. And I would also like to make a point, and our last commissioner, I believe it was our commissioner meeting, Mr. Hope, Mayor Hope, that you had mentioned that our own maintenance group would not be able to keep up with the maintenance of the roads because of how they are deteriorating because of the heavy truck traffic. Okay, we all know that. And a heavy industrial area is just going to make that worse, along with the dangers of pedestrian and cyclist traffic. So please, do the right thing for the citizens and vote to uphold the moratorium as it is written now, with the exception of moving the timeline forward. And then we better get off our butts and get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You're up, Mr. Kosicki.
Bob Kosicki, citizen. When the last thing was going on with Mr. Arnold, that's all we could talk about was the CUP. Because if we'd have brought something else up, it's like, oh, well, that's not part of that. We're not talking about that tonight. So how could you talk about something that you couldn't talk about then, but that's what it was about? Well, you can't say that's what everybody was agreeing to, because that's the only thing we could talk about. As far as all the industry in Archer, the areas that are industry, I look at Mr. Lauderdale's 150 acres. That's got railroad tracks around it. It's not in the center of the city. It's a little bit further away, but you can still build pretty much what he wants there, okay? Uncontrolled. But it is a little further away, so I don't feel quite as uptight about it. Let's put it like that. Whereas some of the ones in the center of the city is a little different. I mean, everybody talks about Archer and the Maddox Foundry. Obviously, if you look at the history of Maddox Foundry, 1905, who was around here? What did we have? Kerosene lamps? Wood stoves? Coal-burning fireplaces or wood? You know, you look at the things that we had then. I'm not looking to go back to that. But you need certain things you need to change. Some things have to be regulated in such a way that it's good for the citizens. That's what we have to look at. I don't know how many of you have actually talked to citizens. I mean, have you talked to the citizens of Archer to see what they're thinking? Have you gone to them? If you have, then you know that they don't want this kind of thing. That the only way to do that is to change the plan with citizen input. That's all I'm asking for. Change the plan for the industrial with citizen input. Now during that, you can have the people that have the land come in and talk about it also. But really, it's about the citizens' input.
Thank you, Mr. Kosicki. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, and again, Ari Arnold Construction, and I'm Rob Lashley, attorney that represents them. I think the approach at this point sounds like it could be tolerable, and that's to limit the exposure to the CUP. That seems to be the major issue before the tribunal at this point. If the CUP is something that needs to be adjusted, then maybe that would be the right thing to do. In order to do that, though, I think you need to eliminate the possibility of the backflow, the retroactive aspect of it, has been approached in this point. Moving forward, I think that would probably be the best bet, and it's something that maybe we can work with. In addition to that, there may be some other options that we may present to the board subsequent to this hearing, which may facilitate some additional arguments, some additional interest in the way that we present things and what we want to do with the property that's there as well. However, right now, I think you're correct. I think the motion should be based only on the addition, on how it affects the CUP.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Christopher Gamira, I'm the engineer of record that was working on the Arnold Batch Plant project before. I just want to remind staff, one of the reasons why you would do a moratorium is you would see a deficiency. I just would like to remind the City Commission that you went and hired a planner to advise on that project, Brian Thomas, and he indicated that the project was compatible with your comprehensive plan at the time. And so while I understand the unhappiness with what may be allowed, the concern for a moratorium is mainly used for places where maybe a gross oversight was seen. However, the need for a moratorium in this case for types of projects that are compatible doesn't seem warrant the implementation of moratorium at all in any case. I do support the city, of course, revising your wants, revising your comprehensive plan, going through a whole certain process, but implementing a moratorium is a financial impact to the city. It discourages new business along those lines. And from an engineering and planning perspective, your codes today are very similar to other cities in the areas. They all have historical industrial zonings within their city limits. Matter of fact, City of Gainesville has many manufacturing facilities south downtown with neighborhoods surrounding them. And you always project at that time, you create an industrial park, and then as the cities grow, those industrial parks become part of the communities. It lowers driving times, etc. So again, nothing that you're dealing with in the city of Archer, from my opinion, and from the opinion of your planner from that previous application hearing, is out of character without any other city that would have to deal with that. And therefore, I would encourage you to not implement a moratorium in any situation.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Chance Lauderdale.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Long time.
Thank you. It's been a little
Welcome.
while. Thank you. Past citizen, past resident, current landowner. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. It's kind of touching. My dad was unable to attend, so I'm kind of here in his place. I grew up in this town. We have a lot of legacy as a family. It's kind of interesting hearing a lot of the concerns about industry in the middle of town, knowing that there's been industry in the middle of town for the greater part of a century, and it's been part of the foundation of who Archer is. So that collaboration and synergy with industry and responsible industry is kind of who we are. I was heavily inspired growing up here by my great-grandmother. Her name is on the plaque out there, Ruby McNair, and the work that she did to bring water to this city, a water system. It's certainly disappointing to hear that it's borderline insolvent, but I have faith that you all will be able to get that remedied in the coming years. But it inspired me into a career in engineering. I've been working with municipalities across the country in North America for the better part of 22 years now. I've been involved in master plans in Florida, California, Texas, working with communities similar to Archer, like Inglewood, but also larger places like Dallas, Indian River County, St. Pete. I have never seen a city go through a moratorium process unless they were unable to provide a service to their citizens. I've never seen them infringe on landowner rights, whether they're citizens or not, unless there was a dire, imminent concern to public safety. And even the Supreme Court has had rulings on this with First English in 1987, and they found that when land use regulation seeks to advance what are deemed lesser interests, such as aesthetic values, they are frequently outweighed by the constitutional rights of the landowners. And so I just ask you to kind of consider this, consider our Constitution. I would hope if you really took a true poll of citizens of Archer, including those that are trying to raise families here, trying to find jobs, you would find more support for broad development than resistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jans.
Please don't chase us in a little.
Okay, sure will.
Good evening. Mark Meyer. I'm the AVP of Marketing and Sales for the Florida Northern Railroad, the railroad that runs through town. I've been working at the railroad for about a decade, and my job at the railroad is industrial development. I do industrial development across 4 railroads across Florida, large cities and small cities alike. One of the responsibilities we have as a railroad is to support the communities that we're within. And Archer was my first industrial project, working with Mel Lauderdale, and we've been working to better the city of Archer for a decade now. Some of the things that we've done is we've worked within the railroad community, and we've actually achieved the CSX Select Site process. So we've actually been awarded that as of this year. And what that will do is CSX put in a bunch of work to review the site, make sure that it worked within its requirements, and then it markets the site responsibly to industry that the community would like to see come into town. So I spearheaded that effort with my connections at CSX, and as of this month, it's going to be awarded. We also worked with Duke Energy, and last year Duke Energy made this a select site also. The reasoning behind that is we're trying to keep jobs within the communities that we support, keep families working within those communities. I know the railroad has a reputation for bringing industry into towns that's unwelcome. That's not how we do business. We work with the community, find out what they want to see in their towns, and then that's the type of industry we go after. That with our utility partners and our Class 1 railroad partners, that's how we're marketing this property. A moratorium would destroy all the work that we've done to bring tax revenue to the city, to bring skilled jobs to the city, because the types of industries we're looking at are skilled labor jobs. So that'll keep the city growing, not slowly dying through the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Markey. Anyone else? Hello, sir.
It's been a while. I presented a letter to the Planning and Council, and I'd like to read it all to you all. I am definitely opposed to the moratorium. I have personal reasons why I'm opposed to it, because you stole my zoning from me, probably in mid-90s, or whenever he did it. But anyway, I'm writing this letter in opposition to the proposed moratorium on industrial zone property. The industrial property owners have substantial investments in their parcels, not only in the real estate values, but also the surveys, insurance, and real estate taxes. Preventing these owners from using their property for the purpose is unacceptable. If the city of Archer passes a moratorium, which is a weak disguise designed to stop growth, then the city should compensate these owners for the loss of use and loss of value. And since there is no reason for a moratorium, the city should be held liable to the landowners for the full value of their properties. I own property in Archer next to City Hall. My property was zoned industrial until the city rezoned my land to commercial. This caused my property to lose substantial value. So I'm aware of what might happen to values when the city interferes with somebody's property. The moratorium is wrong. The city of Archer has, through bad decisions, mismanagement, and arrogance, now finds itself deeply in debt, totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars, owed to the federal government, banks, engineering firms, and others. And now the city is considering cutting off a substantial source of income. What's wrong with this picture? Perhaps the answer is that the folks advocating the moratorium are not in business and could care less about the success of Archer and its future. What kind of fugazi group is advocating this moratorium? I still live in the Archer area, and the decisions made in Archer still impact me. For over 30 years, I owned my business in Archer and provided a livelihood for my family. And in closing, I again ask that the city of Archer not impose a moratorium on industrial zone land. And let me emphasize that a vibrant, healthy city needs a strong tax base to stay solvent. And finally, due to mismanagement, the city of Archer may soon no longer exist. The decision to restrict industrial zone property development should not be in your hands.
Thank you, sir. Would you like to submit that for record?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm. Thank you, sir. Hello, Mr. Arnold again.
Hello again, Gene Arnold. I hope I don't see this tomorrow. This is the headline that the Gainesville Sun's going to put out. It's going to say, moratorium passed, city of Archer is closed for business. Why did you first run for a commissioner to be an Archer? What was your reasoning? What was your motivation? Was it to see Archer grow and prosper? Or was it to pass moratoriums, which ban growth? You gotta look back on what your platform was and why you even did this. What will be your legacy on this 2025 board? Will it be you were part of the commission that voted for a moratorium? I hope not. Got a lot of other things that hopefully we can work together and help find avenues of revenue. Love to start buying some property, Fletcher. Been trying to, right? Been trying to sell some property. The sign as you come into Archer, Commissioner White, do you know what that sign says?
I sure do.
Would you mind telling me?
It says, embracing our past and enhancing our future.
Close. Embracing our history and building our future. Same sentiment.
Yeah.
And y'all were looking at putting some more up, which I think is good. Got the money for it. Ms. Deanna, how many emails, most of them were on the agenda? Approximately 30, 50? How many did you have that were from folks that were for the denial of a moratorium, so against the moratorium?
I would have to count them, but everything, it was in the agenda, and I think I got 3 or 4 more that were forwarded to the commission, the city
Numerous.
attorney.
I would say at least 30. And the businesses, most of them are here in Archer or do business in Archer. A lot of residents, a lot of people that do work in Archer or are employed in Archer. I don't have enough time to go through each one of these folks, but anyways, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
No, Mr. Gene Arnold, you went less than 3 minutes.
Okay,
Before you go to a vote,
we haven't had a motion for this,
She made the motion, she made a second. That's what.
but not for this.
Yeah, that's what she said before you go to a vote.
Okay, go ahead. Do you have something else?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Two
Ms.
things.
Green.
The city passes the comprehensive plan, and when that's done, there's an opportunity for citizen input. It has been in the past, and I think that's so today. And the plan board acts on whatever the commission has for us to work with. The other thing is, back in 2015, in February, I guess, February 16 of 2015, when the petition was presented to the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee that brought a forensic audit on the city of Archer by the state of Florida that cost the taxpayers $70,812. They wouldn't use Powell and Jones. It was just Powell back then, what you're doing now, and I appreciate you doing that. Of course, it's going to cost you more with the $95,000 than it did the $70,000. But during that time, it was also said that we will see that Archer is bankrupt before it can build a sewer system. So here we are.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mayor Hope,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a motion from Commissioner White for my office to work with North Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
So that would table this in front of us?
And it's a vote on the ordinance, it just ends up coming back for first read. I was trying to explain earlier to Commissioner Penny when she was asking, are we tabling it? And I'm, in essence, you are, but
I was just trying to go through the process of this and then.
sure.
I just want to make sure we're all clear on where we're going.
Correct.
So
And
that's what I
stop,
wanted you to
and stop
explain.
or continue this as it's written as a first read, and you were originally going to read the entire.
You just read the title only, but I did read it into the record.
Okay, as long as we're going through.
Nope, I read it
Quorum.
into the record, a motion was made and properly seconded, you had commissioner comment, you allowed public comment. At this point, if there's no more public comment, this would be the appropriate time to take a vote on that motion.
Okay, based on the motion and the second, who made the second, just for clarification?
Commissioner Green.
Commissioner Green, okay.
And clarify the motion, please.
The motion on the floor is for our office to bring back for first read an ordinance adopting a moratorium. However, it will be prospective instead of retrospective, and it will be limited to the conditional use permitted uses for industrial.
As an amendment to our comp plan, if it goes forward.
However, North Central Florida Regional Planning
We'll do
Council
that.
wants to
I
word
mean,
that.
And theirs is just a recommendation for our review and approval based on
The comp plan?
No, the conditional use permit and its read and review and amendment.
Correct, but that's later down the road. All you're voting on tonight is whether or not I'm bringing back
Stop it, give it time for North Central Florida Planning Council master planners to present a review and any exercises for amending it. Conditional use permits specific to industrial zoned areas,
That's what we're amending the moratorium to say.
to be specific to that
Yes,
function, so we have time, prospectively to do that.
correct. That's the
Not
motion on the floor.
retrospectively. You good? Is that, not trying to interpret your motion, but that was your motion.
That was it. Everybody understand?
And utilize North Central Florida Planning Council as our contracted planning entity.
Correct.
Okay, we
They
have a
will
partnership.
assist in the text amendments and whatnot. You're still gonna need a planner.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
No, I was just gonna say, and ask and say, I mean, even if something like this was passed, well, not this, but the one that you'll bring back, in any case, each application would have to come before us and be dealt on a case-by-case basis anyway, right?
Yeah, if the moratorium failed, so let's say you all vote when it comes back for first read, you're like, we don't want it, we decided we don't want to do it. The conditional use permits, we'd go through that whole thing that we went through that night when we were over at the community center. I mean, you would go through an entire quasi-judicial procedure to determine whether or not to approve or deny or approve with conditions that conditional use permit. So it is still case by case. We're not going to change that. But yes, to answer your question. And that's if the moratorium was to fail.
If it fails.
Correct.
Okay.
The purpose of the moratorium will be that Deanna, as your city manager, won't accept any applications, and no applications would process for conditional use permits
So that would
for
just
1 year.
limit anyone for.
No one would be
for
able
a
to
year
apply for a
to
conditional
be able
use
to
permit.
apply
Correct.
around. And I think that needs to be understood.
Correct. Well, and the way the
among
moratorium
guys.
reads now is you wouldn't be able to submit anything with industrial, which was my concern.
Right.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Yes,
ma'am.
so I won't belabor, I hope I won't. Anyway, to the gentleman who said that the city changed his zoning, of course, we weren't here, but apologize anyway for that. I think I'm the only one that sat here and voted no for the moratorium because it did sound like it was going to hinder growth and businesses. And I'm of the opinion that if we need money, we need businesses to come in. So I do apologize that you had that to happen to you. I may be the only one on this dais that feel that way. I'm sure, you know, I'll hear about it later, don't care. I also do believe, by looking at all of the emails that were sent, because we did have a plethora of emails come through from business owners, that, and then talking to people in the city, there are a lot of people that disagree with it as well. So many of you, you know, had a point. Most of you had a point. I still don't really know if I, you know, agree with what is done here because of the time period, if it's still going to be a year, because again, we still need businesses to come in. We still need jobs here. We still need tax bases here. So I just wanted to say that to you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. Madam Vice Mayor. Anyone else?
Question again for our attorney now. So, for instance, so what we're voting on tonight is for some changes to be made.
An amended ordinance.
An amended ordinance.
For first
where
read.
it's not so vague, so broad.
Correct.
Wherein I know that will block anyone from submitting an application. But the one that we're working on to bring back, that would only block certain
Conditional use
conditional use permit.
And the only in your code in terms of industrial, everything is a permitted use unless it is not, that there's, it's like heavy manufacturing not inside an enclosed building. And that requires a conditional use permit. I butchered the paraphrasing of that, but that is the gist of that portion of your code. So it would really, that's the only time that a conditional use permit would come before you. And so that will be what we are putting a stay on with this ordinance when I bring it back to you. Keep in mind that I'm just bringing the ordinance back to you. You all you can approve it, you can change it again, you can kill it, you've got options. Nothing determined here tonight binds you to that. And really nothing binds you between first and second read. So I mean, first read you can vote no, second read you can vote yes, vice versa. So all you're instructing me to do tonight is work with Sandra Joseph with North Central Florida Regional Planning Council to bring back a revised ordinance for your consideration on first read.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think everybody just needs to understand that the entire dice needs to understand so that we can they can make an informed decision.
Correct. The motion on the floor, you're really not voting on the moratorium, you're just voting on a change to the ordinance how it's currently written.
Thank you,
On a
ma'am.
prospective basis, using our current partner planner with North Central Florida Planning Council.
Correct, and limiting it to conditional use permits and
be
not all
prospective
industrial.
As we go through the first read, second
Correct.
read, revisions.
And it would become enacted upon second and final read if approved.
Okay.
So,
I don't mean to prolong this.
No, you're okay.
Okay, as long as
Just
we
to
have
say that
clarification.
without a moratorium, we would be, would do the same thing like we did the last time. Anybody can submit an application regardless, but it would still have to
Come to you all, yes.
come to us as well. We're just limiting the ones that can come before us.
Correct.
In other words,
We're saying that
So
nothing
we're saying-
conditional use permit comes in front of you all for a year.
for a year.
Correct.
Okay. Which, in my opinion, I'm thinking now,
no more we talk.
I mean, I don't care if I create enemies or friends, it doesn't matter. I'm used to backlash. My big concern is for for Archer. That's the only reason I sit on this dais.
Correct.
It's the only reason I took this seat. Because my concern is Archer. Is and you hear the pros and the cons. So I just want to be clear about that. So if we don't do anything, if we say tonight, if
Sure, let's
no
say
moratorium,
Commissioner
period,
White's motion
then we just
fails.
go through the same thing. It just limits the type that comes before us. So
Correct,
and we would have to vote on it anyway.
correct.
Okay. Anything else from the commission?
She got a question mark.
No, I'm good.
No?
All right.
Commissioner Green, you're finished?
I'm done.
Okay, just light's still on, that's all. As long as
If I
you're-
get a thought, I'll bring it back up again.
Okay.
But no, I'm done.
Okay, well, let's go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0.
I think you did.
Did I vote? Did I say aye? Aye.
Did you vote yes?
I think I voted.
Okay, all right. All
So
right.
I will bring
Yes.
back a revised ordinance for first read.
Yes.
On the
we're gonna-
27th.
February regular meeting.
Yeah, it'll probably be the February meeting,
February
yes.
I mean, clear that with Sandra Joseph. 'cause
Yeah,
she
I'll
has
double
lots of
check that.
projects right now.
And then I'll send the confirmation email to you
All right,
all.
thank you very much.
Okay, yes, I voted, because I want to see what the new ordinance
And we're amending the
will
comp
be.
plan with
Exactly.
specificity and as it relates to citizens' concerns and business owner concerns.
Right,
We've heard
so,
it
yeah, so I'll see it when it
since
come back and what
October
it says.
and before
Yeah,
of '24. Thank you.
Would it be possible also, Deanna, attorney, whomever, to get a list or a map showing
The zones
um,
in the city of Archer?
the zone, in
That's
Archer,
something that Sandra
that-
Joseph has for us now, so.
that requires CUP?
So it's not
The zone.
the zoning, it's the use that
Use.
requires a
That's right,
conditional use
yes,
permit.
I'm-
So she could show you a map of all the industrially zoned.
Yeah,
I.e., the concern
areas.
we heard tonight about a junkyard in the middle of Main Street
Right.
downtown. I know we had the engineer speak about other sister municipalities with their application of this, but, I have reservations thinking the city of Gainesville would want an industrial park with a junkyard in the middle of it. And I'm speaking for our sister city, Gainesville, but we have an explosive sister city in Newberry that I as well do not think if there was an industrial zoned area would want a full-blown junkyard. And I'm picking on anybody that has a junkyard. I don't mean to do that, but we have to look at our future and what we, as we've heard tonight, from both sides, what we want Archer to be and look like. It's on our sign, as Mr. Arnold brought forward, and I appreciate that. Okay, next item is our new business, agenda item 1, number 7, resolution number 2025-01, First Amendment to the interlocal agreement for maintenance and operations of traffic signal, school beacons, intelligent transportation system devices, and connected vehicle devices between the city of Archer and the city of Gainesville. This is standard. Annually, we do this.
May I read the resolution?
Thank you all for your participation, both sides of the party. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Arnold.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
May I read the resolution in, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, please.
This is resolution number 2025-01, a resolution of the City of Archer, Florida, approving the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement for maintenance and operations of traffic signal, school beacons, intelligence transportation system devices, and connected vehicle devices between the City of Archer and the City of Gainesville, authorizing the appropriate city staff and officials to execute this agreement, providing that the City of Archer will accept the responsibilities outlined in the attached agreement, repealing all resolutions in conflict, and establishing an effective date.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, I have Iris Bailey, I have a second from Commissioner Joni White. Any discussion from the dais? Hearing none, any discussion from the public regarding this annual contractual partnership we have for our beacons, ITS devices, and traffic signals in Gainesville? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the resolution number 2025-01, say aye. Aye. Nays, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next is our added item, new business number 2, which is 01-2025-01, registration of foreclosed properties in its first read. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 01-2025, an ordinance creating Chapter 8, Article 5 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Archer, Florida, to be entitled Registration of Foreclosing Mortgages and Vacant Property, providing for purpose, intent, and applicability of the ordinance requiring the registration and maintenance of certain real property by mortgagees and vacant property owners, providing for penalties and enforcement, as well as the regulation, limitation, and reduction of registrable real property within the City of Archer, providing for severability, repealer, codification, and an effective date. Mr. Mayor, this is the enacting and enabling ordinance that you all discussed, I believe, at one of your financial meetings. I don't think it was a regular city commission meeting, about registering vacant and foreclosing properties.
To give us opportunities to
Correct. Before you at the next meeting will be a contract with that same company. I wanted to get the enabling ordinance into place and rolling before we engaged in a contract with somebody. So this is all that is it's just bringing to fruition your request that this come before you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Bailey, a second from Commissioner White. Any other discussion from the dais? Hearing
Well-
none. Citizen input?
Hold 1 minute.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was thinking, did you, when did you say we will get the second part? Would it be the end of this month or the?
We'll do it at the regular commission meeting.
Okay.
That way we can
February.
meet advertising requirements, and then we can do their contract at the same time.
Okay.
So that way, if you guys turn down the ordinance for whatever reason, you haven't previously approved this contract. It'll happen all at the same time.
Thank you.
Anytime after February 10th is when you negotiate a contract, correct?
Correct. Well,
Once it's
it'll
brought
be,
forward for second read.
truth be told, it'll be, for example, old business, item 1 will be this second read of the ordinance, and then we'll do new business, item 1 will be the contract, at which point you've enacted the ordinance prior to engaging in the
will be
contract.
contingent on our
Correct.
acceptance of the second read.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other citizen comments regarding this matter? Hearing none, let's go to vote. All in favor of item number 2, 2025-01, registration of foreclosed and mortgaged to vacant properties. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Page like sign. Hearing none. Motion approved 5-0. Reports, correspondence, and communications.
Yes,
Anything?
Mayor Hope. So there wasn't any normal reports, but for the interim city manager report, it just lists some items that Public Works did last month. I wasn't gonna read them unless you needed me
Okay.
to.
And those were made available to the public?
Yes,
To the
sir.
public?
They're on the website.
On the website?
Yes,
And when were they posted on the website? Sorry.
probably shortly after I sent them to you guys, have to
This
look at my
afternoon?
time stamp.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
An update on the Swanee River and water management contract for Holly Hill stormwater pump that we brought before you a few times. They have given us an extension until February 6th to sign the agreement. And when I talked to Justin Hughes, I think is his last name, he said it's possible we can get prepay on this one and the one that's in the queue for Depot Street that we don't have just yet. It's in the queue for next funding.
Okay.
So we're running out of time, so I don't know if you guys want to make a motion tonight, or I can put it back on the January 27th agenda, but other than that, the funds will be
Do
returned.
we need to have a special meeting to approve that? since
I mean,
we're
you can approve it tonight, or I can put it back on the January 27th agenda. He just
As
called
a
today.
financial hold item to
Yes.
act on?
Yes.
Is
I was
that,
just given an update that we did get the extension, we asked for, an extension, but
Okay.
we're coming on that as well soon.
okay, is that accepting of everybody to focus on this financial opportunity
At the next
and
meeting.
review on the 27th? Okay, all right, if you proceed with that, Ms. Althoff, I appreciate
And
it.
when will we know if we will receive prepayment?
He said they had a meeting this afternoon, but I haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay.
So once he said he found that out, he would either email or call to give an update. And he did say, Felicity did ask for the prepayment on the big water grant we have. And the reason they couldn't do that one was already started, and we have FDP combined with that one. I was really hoping he was gonna say they would do prepay on that one too,
Yeah.
because that would have really been helpful. But it still is helpful that I'm pretty sure all the wastewater invoices for Kimley Horn are gonna be paid through DP from the mayor's visit up in Tallahassee.
Okay.
So that was a very fruitful visit, in my opinion. I mean, it's close to, I think,
To settle the waters with Kimley Horn so they continue to proceed and act more
Yeah, once we
timely
get,
with.
right, we have to wait for the first reimbursement to come through, we're still waiting for that 50-some thousand, and then we can resubmit again, they only allow once a month, or it has to be paid before you can resubmit another one.
Okay.
Okay. And then you guys asked for the fraud hotline when Dallas did his presentation, so I included that, so it's $250 a year. So if you wanted us to get started on that, I think there's 3 people that can receive the reports, if I remember correctly. But I know Mayor Hope had asked to make
Okay.
sure it was $250, and so
And
that's
we've
what.
approved that $250 expense to proceed forward with that contract with them, right? Yeah?
No, you guys didn't approve anything.
We just asked you to,
Yes, to confirm it was $250 and get some information, so I emailed them and they replied with the information in the flyer that, we could post once we signed up.
do you need a motion tonight to
If
proceed
you
forward?
want to move forward, yes, please.
You all remember this? I mean, do we have to review it again, or you understood what
Yes,
the
we-
advantage of having this one? Do I entertain a motion from the dais?
I make a motion that we go into the contract with the fraud line
With the $250 expense?
for the
And allow Ms. Althoff to
$250
continue
per year.
bringing that contract forward for our,
Second.
and a second from Vice Mayor Bailey. Any other dais comment or discussion? Hearing none, any citizen comments on this opportunity for fraud hotline intervention from a contractor to cost $250 a year? And have 3 parties notified at any time that they identify anything throughout the contractual period, correct? Any comments from the citizens on this corrective action step? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving forward with this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, nays like sign. Hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
All right, and then Latoya Gainey, I believe I have her name correct, or spelled correct. We went ahead and scheduled our joint meeting with the county for March 17th, at the community center. I was just making everyone aware that if we stream the meeting on YouTube, the cost will be approximately $2,000. Hopefully it will be less, but I just wanted to let you know if you wanted to cancel the meeting this year, try to fit us up here like we used to do. I could even sit back there if I needed to, but.
We've done the joint meeting before in this chambers room.
We have, yes, sir. That's why I was asking because of the cost at the
And it
moment.
was a little more personal, but it's still
It's very close.
met the exercise intent with citizens,
And I would
limited
just-
seating, but it can be done.
I would just have to let Miss Gainey know that we were gonna move location, is all.
And it would save us the $2,000 and still achieve the
Approximately,
same
it could be less, it
exercise.
could be more, but with the cameras, the audio, and we'd have to have Eric Mayer, somebody there to.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion
So it's
to
up
approve the chambers being used for the joint county city commission meeting on March 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner White, second by Vice Mayor Bailey. Any other comments from the dais or concerns regarding this? Any comments from the citizenry about our joint annual meeting between the county and the city and its location here at the chambers to, again, cost savings opportunity, as we've done in the past. We've done it in the past. There's no reason why we can't do it this year as well. Hearing no comments from the citizenry, all those in favor of the motion to proceed with the joint meeting being March 17th here with the county and the city of Archer, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Nays, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Altop, for that cost savings opportunity.
And then
Yeah.
the next item, you asked me to bring back the uniform cost by employee. So it just, and this is for the last 12 months, Justin went back, we verified, just so you're aware, the last time any of this stuff was ordered, I believe, was October of '23. So from what I understand from the Calvin and the Public Works, is it was supposed to be like at the beginning of the fiscal year. Sometimes it went later, like this year it didn't come until December, November, December before we ordered stuff. So, you know, for each employee, Justin was less only because now that he's in the office, he orders shirts because in an emergency he will have to go out there. And then Scott Way from Recreation is now going to have the city shirts as well, like we discussed. So, you know, it's under $1,400 a year to buy them, you know.
For the entire team or for each?
Oh, for all, that's why I put each person, what their total is, and then the main total for the city's fees.
Okay.
I mean, costs, excuse me.
All right. And
So you had just asked me to break it down.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's what we did.
So $14 is the average for every 12 months?
1,400, yes.
Yep. And,
Yes.
and renewed or reviewed in October of each fiscal year, the first month of each fiscal year.
Right.
Commissioner White, you had input?
Yeah, I still have a problem with buying 8 pair of jeans.
Okay.
Even at $9.99 a piece?
I don't care if it was $5. I got a problem with buying them jeans. And
But we
no
also-
other business that I know of, unless they had uniform pants and.
Okay, and also, did we get clarification about the boots? That $1,400 includes? That's,
Yes, yes, sir.
okay, I just
Yes.
want to have the citizens
Yes.
see and hear.
Yeah, they only get $100 from the city, and the rest, it was being deducted from their paycheck. Dallas let us know that that's really not the appropriate way.
You do it.
We would do like an invoice to the employee, and then they pay us, the city back. So when those monies come in, then, you know, whichever one of us take the money, you know, it would
We
just be
charge for
allocated
the
back to the
difference between the
uniform.
$100 and what they
Yes,
bought.
so
and
they're
it would be
all
payroll
aware.
deduct based on an invoice submittal, right?
Well, they would send a check, cash, credit, debit card. They would pay the city like they were paying a bill to
Before they
us.
receive the boots?
Correct. Oh, wait, before?
Yeah.
No. They already went in December and bought them, so they were expecting to be payroll deducted, so we've already told them that they will have to just pay the city back the difference.
Okay.
So
And
we'll be
they've
tracking
been
that.
notified of that and
They
understand that?
have, yes, yes.
Okay. And their sentiment was not happy, but they
No,
understand
they
that?
understand.
Okay,
No,
but
they
the
were
cost,
fine with it.
cost condition of the city, that's only,
Yes, and the city of
Common
Newberry
sense.
does pay $150, just FYI.
150 for boots and not 100.
Correct, just
Yeah.
FYI. as
Is
well.
that? Is
Because it says 100, pays 100. So it says city pays 100.
Right, no, I was
So-
just saying the city of Newberry pays $150.
city
I was
of
just giving you a
Newberry,
comparison,
okay.
So we're
Comparison,
not
I'm sorry.
over
All
like
right.
what another bigger city would say.
Does the city of Newberry furnish pants?
I don't believe so.
See, and that's that's 150 for the boots is good. Because they're saving money compared to us. That's what I said.
Okay, Commissioner White, are you wanting to prospectively move forward with eliminating the jeans?
Yes.
Is that a motion?
I can make it a motion. I will make a motion that we eliminate the jeans.
Going forward, so October of 2025.
I mean, I'm not in the
Justin.
field much no more, but coming from somebody that's in the field, pants, we go through a lot of pants. When you get in the
The
hole, You spill glue all over them, they get red. I mean, 8 pants is not a lot throughout a year. $10 a piece. And we go through a lot of them just like shirts.
And I understand that, but I also understand we pay our employees pretty good according to what Dallas and someone else said.
Compared to
Their pay is
municipal
comparable
cities.
to, exactly. We pay them pretty good, and I kind of feel like they can afford the jeans to wear to work.
Okay, Ms. Altop, just to move this forward, can you, I'm sorry to put this exercise in front of you, but can you tally what that October expense was for the jeans for the staff, so we can calculate what that average cost per employee is?
Yeah, it would be about 72 each for only 3 of them.
It's $72 for the jeans,
Times
each
3.
one time a year.
Yeah. Yeah,
For 8 pairs?
Is it one time a year or
Is it
twice a
one-
year?
one
Yes.
time a year.
One.
That's not much.
It's, yeah, 71 for 8 pair.
I've got citizens hollering at me, they want my paycheck. And we're paying $71.92 for an employee to have jeans to wear to work, when everybody else can furnish their own.
Okay, so your motion is to eliminate the jeans prospectively on October 1st of 2025. We just need to notify
Yes.
in a timely manner if this is approved, our staff, so that they can prepare accordingly. Can I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I thought they was paying a lot more for jeans. This is really very cheap.
Yeah, I mean, we
they're
heard
paying
numbers
about
like $300 or whatever
They're
for
paying like
jeans.
$200 a year, $211. The shirts are a lot more than the jeans. So, they're more than the jeans, so, as Justin said, they go through those jeans. So, I was against the jeans in the beginning from what I saw that was supposed to be paid for them, but looking at this, it's nowhere near that. Oh, I'm not talking in my mic, can everybody hear me?
Okay, do I have a second to the motion? Here not, motion fails for lack of a second. Is there a counter motion to consider? Again, in fairness and equity to our staff and preparing for October 1st of 2025. Do we want to?
No, I don't have a counter,
All right,
motion.
Commissioner
I-
Green, I'll try to
Oh.
exercise anybody, but I mean, do we have a counter motion to address the jeans and the cost currently of the jeans annually from anybody else on the dais? Or,
I'm fine with the jeans. When I
Me
look
too.
at the cost and what they're paying for jeans, I'm good with it.
And the
like it
job,
is.
the description, so for Justin to come in, and to say why they get, 8 pair of jeans for the year, it makes sense because of the grime that they go through.
besides the
job that
comments
they
about
do.
deferred maintenance from citizenry about our sidewalks, right-of-ways, we hear that our water system and repairing leaks and trying to reduce the 24% water loss to national average of 16%, it sounds like the majority of their time, other than deferred maintenance that they never get caught up on, all due respect to them, would be the water leaks, and especially in the next 12 months.
And we are so much different than the others.
Ma'am?
I said we were so much different than the other cities. Deanna, what is the difference in Calvin shirts and the rest of them?
The size?
Yeah, it's by size. When you get
So
into
there's
the
an
bigger
additional
sizes.
cost over a certain size.
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah, because Justin's is higher too. They're actually the cheapest ones are, the lowest price is Scott's.
He only got 8 shirts.
Yeah, he has 8 shirts, right. But Calvin's price is $189 and Justin's is $199.
That's, yeah.
But no, it's the amount of fabric. so
It's the
as you-
amount of fabric,
yes.
right, I understand it, but I was just letting Commissioner White know that, like that they're, yeah. And then I guess John and Stephen maybe about the same size, because theirs is the same price. Yeah.
Okay, we can look at this again as we take care of the corrective actions. Sorry, Commissioner White.
I'm good.
Okay. Anything else?
Just,
Ms. Altop? Yes, ma'am.
as I said earlier, the IRS balance is $233,483. That was as of January 2nd.
Is that with the current interest and penalty fee added to that?
yes.
So
But like I said, it's accruing daily.
daily, but
Yes.
it's not, I mean, I've spoken of $400,000 out of my concern and empathy to try to act just quickly
Yes.
in payments and try to start reducing that, because even if the balance is reduced, it reduces the overall penalty.
Yes, we're waiting
Not
on.
penalty, but the interest rate accrued.
We're waiting on some payments from the state, our normal like
Yes.
payments. Right now, our bank balance is quite low, so I'm a little nervous at the moment, so we plan on making the payment hopefully this week if we get some funds in.
Okay, okay.
And then the progress update on I did sign and send back the FDP, for the wastewater on January 8th. So
Okay.
just an update. And then the last document was you got asked for the utility delinquent report. So as you can see, I only redacted the customers' names, but the rest are our city accounts that we still have to move around in the fund, like Dallas spoke about. So our goal is to, some of the people have either left or passed away, and some do owe the balances, so we're gonna continue to try to find a collection agency that could come in and help
And we
collect those.
approved that to utilize a collection agency to assist.
That's what we were thinking about, yes.
And we approved that, though, to proceed forward with that, or do we need a motion to allow you to proceed?
I don't think you did a motion, I think Dallas talked about it, I'm trying to recall. But I was gonna
Okay,
see
fine.
what the percentage they're gonna, take from the recovered funds, so to speak.
30%. I mean, they were saying like, if the, I was about to say patient, but if the, citizen owe 100, they were gonna charge like 130. And they were gonna get that 30.
At 30. And so the cost outlay to us was zero, is the way I understood.
Right.
Is that correct? Or,
I believe so, the cost will be zero, but we will lose this, like,
Not necessarily, because what they were gonna do, if the citizen owed 100, they was gonna charge 130. They're
Recoup
taking
the
the 30, and we'll get our 100.
which is getting our money back at no
So
cost.
it's like, we didn't have to spend the time to try to send out the letters and search for them, that they were gonna do that
We're
part.
contracting that with an outside service to expedite that.
I don't recall a motion for
Motion.
that meeting,
Okay,
no.
do we want
Mr. Mayor, I don't think you need a motion. It's a contract that's gonna have to come in front of you all anyways.
Okay, but we certainly want to proceed forward, so as soon as possible, another corrective action step for financials. And we
Right.
can report on that on the 27th, just your update on that, if you could, okay? Thank you. Anything else for exercise for us? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Altop. And that is posted on the website for any citizens that aren't joining us tonight to review. Okay, again, for exercises and cost savings or cost reduction. Okay. Attorney report. Madam.
I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor. We enjoyed having you all at our ethics presentation last month. I hope that we were moderately entertaining. I know that it's a dry topic. We are also working with Deanna regarding the penalties. The chances of getting the interest waived is slim to none on your payroll taxes. However, the IRS will sometimes waive, or abate rather, the penalties. So we're in the process of preparing an 843 form to submit to the IRS, accompanied by a letter explaining the circumstances that surround the non-payment, and we're requesting that abatement. So we'll keep you apprised if we hear anything from them.
Okay. And is that the equivalent of like an offer and compromise process that we go through?
It's a form you submit to the IRS, and they may ask for more additional information. They may tell us,
They want to interview us? or
correct.
whatever. Okay.
I will keep you apprised of the process as we
Okay.
learn more.
All right, thank you very much. And anything else?
No, I'm sorry. That was the extent of my report.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It's a welcome. Okay, we are down to commissioner reports. I'll just go right to left to be Continental. Vice Mayor Bailey, anything to report?
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
Yep.
thank you and Commissioner White for going to the delegation hearing. I was in a panic. I know Deanna probably got tired of me calling her during the week, trying to make sure somebody could go, because I ended up with 2 meetings at the time. So, yeah, I wasn't able to make it. So thank you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
can't remember the guy's name. He, let me see
Morgan
his-
French?
No, not, that's the girl.
Oh.
The guy that was Ryan.
Yep.
Ryan texted me to let me know how things went, and he thought that you two did a pretty good job making the committee aware of, what we needed. So
And they did ask questions and they did take notes, which could be good, bad, or indifferent. And Mr. Lewandowski was present and made additional comments about the status of the city and a request, for certainly the Attorney General and those in the financial committee board be aware of our emergency financial situation. So I don't know if that nullified the request, but thank you for being there, Mr. Lewandowski. Appreciate it.
It was just to get the status. They asked them to.
No, I understand, but it also could trigger an audit, from the state, which we performed that before. So, thank you for being there and showing interest as a citizens. Anything else? Yeah,
I think that might be it.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you think
thank
something,
you.
just turn your light on and I'll go back to you. Commissioner Green,
No,
no report?
I just
No-
want to thank Danielle, our lawyers for providing our ethics class and feeding us really good. Yeah, it was very nice.
And for coming out of hiding.
I know. I'm sorry. My trial schedule has been such that Archer has been difficult to get to, but we're back on our normal programming, so I'm looking
And
forward
Attorney
to
Blue
it.
does a wonderful job. It just,
She enjoys seeing you all as well. She told me to tell you guys hello, actually, as I was walking out the
she
door
get tired of
tonight.
me calling her thing one, thing two.
Well, you are thing one and thing two, so you're all right.
Archer is things, yep.
And I did want
Standing joke.
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry. I did want to thank Commissioner White for nominating me for vice mayor tonight, but I don't think I'm ready to take on that just yet. My plate is kind of full, but I do appreciate it.
Commissioner Kathy Penny, update us.
I don't think I did. I did
Oh, no.
come to the ethics meeting.
Yep.
Did I be going nowhere else?
It seemed like December was.
Oh, I went to the depot, the historic depot for what Lizzie did.
Yeah.
It is it is so nice in there. I hadn't been in there in a while. It's been like a year or so since I've been in there. I just didn't know it was that much space in there. And
Ms. Green, have they completed the flooring? They have, haven't you? I mean, I haven't seen them there in a few weeks. so
yeah,
That's
it's
good. Wonderful.
It's coming along very nice. I just didn't know it was that much space. I done been in there before, but it's been a while. What else did I do? It seemed like I went somewhere else, but that's all I can think of right
Okay,
now.
thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner White? You did attend the delegation with me, and you were my chair. I don't think it was recorded. It only went 5.5 hours, so.
Right. I got a call when it was over.
Yeah.
And yes.
We were on the agenda earlier than that.
Oh, okay.
But all the citizenry input and things like that. it went to
Mr. Mayor,
Ma'am.
I also want to thank the Historical Society for the Josiah T. Walls program also, when we went over, and they also fed us. Yes, they also fed us. But I was also invited to come and update some more information over there, but the Historical Society is another organization that's pretty busy in the city. And so we do appreciate it. I appreciate you guys and your programs that you do.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Ma'am.
who is going to the meeting tomorrow with Alachua County? Just you and?
Me and Dallas are doing the Zoom or whatever
Oh.
platform. We already asked them and they said that was sufficient for them.
Will you send me the information? And I'll Zoom it.
Of course.
Look, can you send us the information?
Yes. Yeah,
Do you-
I don't have to find the parking spot.
Are you asking that you want support
You
at
have
that
to pay
meeting? Or are
online.
you
No,
okay?
I was just wondering if there was gonna be somebody there representing Archer. If I can do it Zoom, I'm good.
It's available through Zoom as well, you think?
Yes, it's some kind of platform we were sent, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, it's because of all the wild spaces, and then I believe our other requests as well is supposed to be discussed.
But you and Dallas are going?
No, we're gonna attend by
By
Zoom or
Zoom.
whatever platform it is.
Okay.
Yes.
I misunderstood. Attending.
Okay, no, I just assumed, but anyway,
Gotta have that
thank you for that cost savings
downtown now.
opportunity as well.
That's what I said.
Okay, in the sake of time and certainly the interest of second public comment period, I continue to chair the North Central Florida Planning Council meetings, both the ethics, chair the ethics, the executive committee that is before the meeting at 7 p.m. on the third or fourth Thursday of every month. And we'll do that through June of 2025, and then a new chair will be assigned. I also attended the delegation for appropriations on the 9th last week, and had our 5 minutes in the sunshine, or 3 minutes. I think we did less than 5 minutes, but we're thanked and notes taken. And Mr. Lewandowski again attended with citizen input, and I think that's healthy to let them see that and hear that. We do have a new representative that's been voted into our district, and we got to meet him, and he smiled and seemed to relate to our request. And we basically stated it was shovel ready, so, and the project is. And the consultant with Kimley Horn that was there, giving us a rah-rah and the one-page summary. I have that available to disclose if that wasn't, was that posted on the website?
It was not, and it was Woodard and Curran, I think.
Yes,
Yeah, not Kimley Horn. They did all that pro bono for
But
the
they
city.
consult with Kimley Horn
No,
No.
no, they're private.
No,
grant
not-
man-
and did that free gratis.
They did,
They
yes,
did,
sir.
So let me say here, I met them when I went to Tallahassee last month, and they have a consulting and engineering firm. Morgan said to me that she would be willing to come and to help us out for like 8 hours, for free, give us the information, and then
And updates.
and then
as they go through the
updates, and then
legislative-
we can decide if we want to go with them or not. It's a lot. It's a lot because the whole firm, they have different parts, but like having a problem with what's the Kimley Horn not submitting, yeah, for our,
installments
yes, yes. They would
commit
do
to
all,
that
yes,
If we wanted to make a
Yes.
change.
if we want to make a change. And I love Felicity, but, I mean, if it's gonna save us money.
Timeliness, yeah,
Mhm.
for reimbursement is key.
So Morgan is willing to, if we let her know ahead of time, she's willing to.
Do you have their
to
contacts?
come.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I have them down coming on our January 27th meeting to explain what they do.
Okay.
And as that relates to reimbursement and
Yeah, what services they offer.
they offer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And also, I think this is an exercise we do when we pass the baton or assign new mayor and vice mayor, and I'm gonna do it, and I will type it up formally and get it submitted to you, Deanna, and that we can discuss it more on the 27th. But requested or recommended assignments from me to each commissioner, if you would so be willing to take on that responsibility. And this is almost, pardon me, Attorney Adams, referring to a liaison accountability with certain sectors of our city that all have financial cost impacts at this point. So this is, just bear with me as I kind of outline this. It's things we talk about, it's things that we discuss, it's things citizens bring back to us. But from month to month, if I can assign each one of you just to give a brief overview of contacts from citizens, if you do drive around the community or whatever based on these subject matters, just to report on us, whether it's to validate a complaint that's come before us or whatever. So with that said, Commissioner Bailey, and again, it's talking about these assignments are global at 30,000 feet. When our economic development plan, our vision for Archer are important, I think, sectors of what we've been concerned about, or we see opportunities or things that are approaching us, and to ensure we stay live with those opportunities. With that said, Commissioner Vice Mayor Bailey, again, utilizing your educational expertise, if I could assign you to be a contact for our Archer Elementary School as a partner, as a commission partner specific to just staying in touch with Ms. Hartwell and any programs, things like that, even if it's just a phone call or an email, and then report on everything from their carnival to school concurrency at that level, at the county level. Where is the new high school going? Do we need to look for stakeholders that could offer 25 acres? We haven't entertained those kind of things. And so, I've talked about school concurrency in the plan with Alachua County, but I've distanced myself on who the contacts are. I sat next to Ms. Johnson, who was with the county school board, and I almost went at the delegation meeting the other day for appropriations, and I almost wanted to sit beside her and say, hey, Ms. Johnson, where do we start this ball rolling? Because the new high school is on the west side of Alachua County. It's coming somewhere. And if we don't act interested in it, and so with that, that's the kind of exercise that, if we stay in touch with that throughout the year. Also, as a partner with Shelley Banfield with the Santa Fe Davis Center, just what kind of programs, at least just touch bases and then apprise us or invite her to come and share or whatever, again, email, phone call or whatever as we move forward with that, if that's not too much to ask of you. Commissioner Kathy Penny, if I could ask you, and again, I'll outline this, send it to you, then y'all can
No, you will not. You will not send it to her. You will.
send it to
Okay,
the
yes.
city manager. It's
I
just,
thought you were keeping me on my toes.
it's written, and then she can submit it out to them, and they can see this as I talk about it this evening. But these are assignments, liaison, just, scoping out accountabilities for the commission. Ms. Kathy Penny, if you would continue to be photo op, paparazzi, whatever, with City of Archer sponsored community events as a partner, just as they bring us forward with programs or things that are coming on from summer and the programs with the YMCA, those kind of things, just stay in touch. The drug program that you are a member of, and I think you're an officer in it now, aren't you as well? I mean, just
YMCA.
yeah. But bring that back to us with any opportunities we might have. Also specific to the one, I think, Jim, we have for revenue sourcing or whatever is, and you've always wanted to have the wedding expos and things like that. And I don't want to go into that to say go do it, but I would like you to look at the Archer Community Center and its potential, and as just a partner with the commission on center events, on things that we sponsor or just programs that are coming up, and be in touch with that and any marketing opportunities, but also including, as it was spoken to tonight, and we hear it time and time again, and we have, I'll give you an example, we have our annual termite review inspection at the Archer Community Center, and we have belabored that and talked about that, but there are specificity and things that I think Manager Altop that has been brought up about making sure it's vacuum clean of any old termite residue and things like that that could be back from years. If we don't vacuum and clean all of that up when they come and inspect, they're not going to know how old it is or whatever. If we've got the guys in there, completely vacuuming that, cleaning all that up, and getting it prepared for the inspection, then we can look forward to seeing that inspection. So
Okay.
with that said, whether you're the hound dog, I don't mean to call you a hound dog, but just make sure that happens.
I feel
And because, I mean, Ms. Althoff is overwhelmed at this point. I'm not trying to protect you, but I just, if you had a commissioner that was helping with those kind of things, and the guys know that the commissioner might be coming and saying, I want to see, show me, before the inspection, that would be an example of the kind of things that I would ask of you to do.
I'll be happy to help you.
And again, you call it oversight, you call it liaison, it's just things that are standards that the public works guys need to know, that you've got more than just yourself saying, go do this. You've got commission eyes looking at things. And again, that's that marketing arm of that center itself, and making sure it's a standard that we need to ensure for maintenance upgrades, needs for improvement or whatever, and bring that back to us. Any of us can do it, but if I know it's under your umbrella, then we'll rely on you or blame you for not telling us about it. So I don't mean it that way. Commissioner Green, again, not trying to target faith-based and what you do in your day job like me or whatever, but if you would look at all the City of Archer faith-based organizations, i.e. our churches, you hear me fussing about we got 13 inner city churches or whatever, and we got a handful or we have singular handful that come at one event and then not at the others. If we could somehow just have your eye on I know the Ministerial Alliance organization, and where are they? If it's my preacher at Bethlehem and he's not doing a job or whatever, if you could reach out and say, you representing that religious organizational base in Archer, see what we can do. And I'm thinking more of, like the struggles we did for the our chapter 55 of the Masonic Lodge, and how they struggle. If they knew that we had a commissioner that did it in his or her day job and were trying to start the plan early, I think it would help when we get to December. Because I don't know how y'all felt, but I felt extremely guilty this year. And again, guilty about everything. That's all our accountability, financial hardship, and everything else. But we were doing the Mad Hatter run prior to their 14th event. So if you could just keep that under your wing, it would be helpful. And then the other thing is, again, in respect to the different sectors of the community that have a real interest in how the impact's going to be on the Phase 1 water system, and how they, again, I don't mean to say target, but Holly Hills is that first phase, and, keep talking about the condensed population in there. If we could just if I could ask you to keep up with the wastewater grant system and this potential of this company we may be considering, but just any of that system update and where we are, and speaking to the citizen that's come forward and talked about the emergency response plans and things like that, just to keep it, bringing it up, so it's not a citizen doing it, but it's you and your concerns about lift stations and what happens, and not that you have to do an emergency response team, but plan if something happens, but certainly our sister city in Newberry already has something. So even if it was just to call the city manager, in this delegation meeting, I don't know if you saw him, but Newberry city manager came up, he presented where they were, which I thought was very healthy. But he is very positive with his partnership opportunity with us. Now, if he was just giving me the song and dance at the delegation meeting, I wasn't acting as mayor, it was just a representative, but he's very positive about what he feels about this regionalization plan. And the more we can get information to you about how to present that, not only at your church, but just any concerned citizens, not trying to target you in Holly Hills, but have concerns. I do intend on continuing to be a copycat for former Mayor Iris Bailey. I will have town hall meetings. I don't know if we're going to do them every quarter, but I think that's a very healthy exercise. Even with all our problems, I think it's very healthy to offer that and I may ask your assistance, Vice Mayor Bailey, on how you contact interested parties. I'm not worried about Davis Center and people like that, but your connections with anybody else that may come forward in the educational area, please.
And I was going to say, Deanna could probably give you that because she helped send out invites. I sent out the email because that's pretty much how I do it.
Train me in how that exercise went, and I'll just learn from you and what the success of Mayor Bailey and what she's done with her town halls. I'll continue that. But if you would do that, and again, reach out to the city manager of Newberry. I think there's a potential there to get a lot of information that citizens are bringing back to us about wastewater and, you know, how is the emergency response plan when there's a failure and that kind of things. And Commissioner White?
Oh, I know what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
You're
and
basing it on what we do every day? I'm going to have coffee with all the housewives.
With all the what?
All the housewives.
Housewives, okay.
We'll discuss
No,
this.
teas. I thought it was gonna be tea parties.
No, I want coffee.
Okay.
We'll discuss this.
Because I can make the Helps chocolate pie for those that watch The Help. I promise it won't have the added ingredient, but anyway, if you would just continue with the recreational impetus that you already do, but also including that the parks, as just not an overseer, but just from the commission eye point. I know that you travel around in Archer. I know that you're tying to recreation. If you could include just on a periodic basis, you know, looking at the parks from a commission basis, and any citizenry input that comes back to us and validate it, and then give recommendations of what you think should happen. If it's tear down the equipment or whatever, if it truly can be, you know, renovated or whatever, or painted properly, those kind of things. And that's with specificity I'm talking about. But also, not that you're going to recommend anything, but this validation of tonight of like the 139th Avenue, streets, right-of-ways, sidewalks, anything that you see from a commissioner's perspective as you walk around, travel around. Not trying to put you to work on walking all the sidewalks, but just report back to us from a commission standpoint. Not that it's not validated already from the citizen input, but just from a commissioner basis, if you would look at those things. And any plans and implementation that we need to do. And finally, me, just so you know that I'm not leaving myself out, I will continue to chair the North Central Florida Planning Council. I will probably remain on the executive committee even after I leave chairship this year. So that's something you all have already assigned to me, and I've been doing for several years, but I will continue that unless someone else wants to do it after I'm not chair anymore. But they will rely on us to report that for their change that they would need to do at that organization. I will avail myself to be an economic development partner and plan with any of the businesses that we saw tonight or any other businesses to then report back to you anything that, you know, I've disclosed or had information or whatever, and bring it back to them so they have a contact direct to not just because I'm mayor, but as a commissioner. I will continue to be part of the comp plan as a facilitator and partner and provide information back, again, because of representing the North Central Florida Planning Council as chair and working hand in hand on a monthly basis with Scott Coons, who is the executive director. I will continue to represent, as I think Mayor Bailey did throughout the year of her, or 3 years of her services with the League of Cities. I said the town hall. I will continue to be a proponent and a siren, if you will, for State Road 24 and its widening as related to the new formulating MTPO organization. They're no longer city of Gainesville and Alachua County being contractually organized by our North Central Florida Planning Group. Those master planners have been removed in that contract. Scott Coons has no more contractual relationship in that. They've gone a different direction. It could help us. It could expedite State Road 24 and widening. We know we have a county commissioner that lives and resides in Archer. So I will stay close with that, but it's the unknown of the new contractor. And just remember, we have 7 Gainesville city commissioners and 5 county commissioners. But the whole charter review is being reorganized to where there will be a citizen advocate with voting authority outside the city and representing a another municipal palliative member who has voting rights or whatever in the decisions that the MTPO is making. So that could help us as well. But I will stay apprised of that and try to attend those meetings and, like I said, be the siren about State Road 24 specific for our advantage in Archer as we look to economic development. And then I will also commit to being, Commissioner White, what you've done through the audit process, through the financial audit, any financial oversight and things like that, and even consider, don't have to decide it tonight or whatever, but a consideration to actually have a citizen advisory group. We'll define how we do that, how someone can apply for that, but I think it's time that we actually consider that. It's not to micromanage Manager Altop, but I think to build trust and to assist with facilitating the commitments and the offerings from the citizens we've had, it's time to consider a citizen advisory committee. And so I will bring information back to you as I seek the appropriate way, Attorney Adams, to do that. Okay.
Happy to help.
And make sure you keep me square as I move forward with that opportunity. And we do it fairly with members and who can be a participant in that. And then the water system upgrades, as we look at those grants and grant opportunities next year, certainly that entails road rework and things like that. I'll commit to that. Last but not least, the other exercise that I've just thought about, and I wrote it down, and again, I will put it in formality and in a type format to get to you, Ms. Altop. So even Public Works is apprised of this. I am requesting, and again, by consensus, if you all approve, if you think it's a waste, we can discuss it at our financial meeting, but I think it's time to request that the Public Works Supervisor be scheduled without overtime to attend both City of Archer Commission meetings every month and present the Public Works monthly report in front of us to actually get citizen input directly to that supervisory person. That's a lot to ask of Calvin because he's never done it. We haven't had a Public Works Supervisor and giving reports since we had, what was the gentleman's name? Patrick. But again, we've heard about deferred maintenance. We've heard about time of the season. We're reduced down to 3 Public Works people. I know I'm reducing even more, 2 times a month if he's scheduled without overtime to be here. But in fairness to Calvin, he doesn't need to get it secondhand. Not that you wouldn't do a good job of it, but he doesn't need to get it secondhand from the feedback from our meeting. He needs to be, he or she, whoever. I mean, if Calvin says, I don't want supervisory, that's not my intent. But he needs to be present as our supervisor to hear our citizenry input.
I understand that, but he does listen to every single meeting.
I know,
Just doesn't
he's-
apply. But you're saying you want him at both meetings or just the first
Both
meeting?
right now until we start just one meeting.
But what will he present at the second meeting? I'm just trying to
He
understand.
will be a listening ear, and anything that has to do with cost savings or things like that that may have to do with Public Works. We've discussed about uniforms and things like that tonight. He needs to be present to hear those kind of discussions at this point for the health of Public Works.
When you
and that.
said without overtime, so it's
Scheduled
almost
without
10
overtime.
o'clock. So just so you know, we'll be leaving 2 people in Public Works.
I know it for that
Okay, I'm
particular
just
2
making
times.
sure everyone understands that.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we get complaints.
But
things
I
not
respect
being
him as a supervisor and a leader, but I think if as his takeaway from that is he'll be a stronger supervisor and leader because he'll hear it firsthand. And he can refuse and decline being supervisor, and then we'll have another opportunity or whatever. I don't want it to be an opportunity. That's not my intent.
Is that something you're saying for us to approve, or are you?
Unless you
requesting
disapprove, I want
that?
feedback tonight, but I would really like to have him present.
I would disapprove of him having to be here 2 meetings out of a month because it's almost 10 o'clock now. And I would not, especially without overtime, you're already complaining about him with the food thing, and now you want to require him to be here twice a month. So that's kind of contradicting yourself.
I appreciate
Amen.
that opinion, but there are a lot of costs.
I would say if we want him here once a month, just kind of give us an update on report and put him at the beginning. And because we know they have to be to work early in the morning.
Yes.
So, if we wanted a
You
report,
adjust the agenda so he could give that report early in our agenda?
Yeah, if you guys want them under guest or under consent.
and I guess we'd have to adjust this
You're putting
time.
him in the fire.
We are. It is. I honestly don't want it, period.
It's time for.
I really don't want it, period, but.
It's not gonna
that
work.
to go,
You're just
yeah.
gonna- I mean, you see how we're attacked on Facebook and here. You put Calvin out there, he's gonna be attacked, and it's not worth it. When she gets a report from him,
And it's
and
from him, I don't just.
that's what, I just don't think it's fair.
But the standard of the report is weak at best at this juncture, is what my position, what I'm saying. We're not getting the valid information about public works in the community and deferred maintenance and things like that. That needs to come straight from his mouth.
And I understand that, but if you could let us know what you need, because I actually agree with the rest of the dais. I could be wrong, that say if we require him to start coming, we may lose him as an employer. Are we ready to go down that road? Because I am not at
Yes,
all.
I am. If he can,
I'm not ready to go down that road. I'm not ready to go down that
this is
road.
about protecting a staff person that has responsibility for supervision
But they're not required to come to these
at this
meetings.
juncture, but I think it's important. We had the previous supervisor coming and reporting.
But I think as a
That was years
commission.
ago. How long ago that's been? When
If you
Patrick
feel
was here.
that strongly about it, then have
Years,
one of us
years.
named to go talk to.
To
Public
ask,
Works.
exactly.
And if you don't think Deanna's getting the full story, then one of us can be the liaison for Public Works. But I don't think it's fair to ask him to come up here.
And put him in the line of fire.
You're right, because we got thick skin. He might have thick skin, I don't know, but I don't think that is fair either, because he's not, yeah. I'll just leave it
But I
at
don't think that's fair to any of their employees.
me either.
So who wants to be the commission contact about public works and all the things that come forward to us with that, besides the city manager right now?
Do you not feel the
Old
city
business that
manager?
does not get taken care of.
Okay, do you not feel the city manager is doing a, I mean,
No,
our
they're
acting
not.
city manager is doing a great job, is that?
I'll go to Calvin, and I'll
And you all, let me explain what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, we had a system where every public works or the team had a quadrant of the city they took care of each 3 months or zones. And that's not being adhered to at all. And I'm not fussing at you, Ms. Altop, I'm just saying, it's an abysmal failure at this point. It's who's running to take care of a problem reported. And that's a part of public works follow-up, but it's not part of managing this city with right-of-ways, sidewalks, street repair, even water systems and meters.
But still, I feel it's
failing at
their
that.
job to report to her, or who's ever the city manager. I don't think it's their job to report to us. I think it's their job to report to the city manager.
I don't think it's got to be, I don't think it's got to be reporting to us, Commissioner. I think it's
It's
more,
giving us a summary of the report.
I think that I would go to Calvin and say, Calvin, this is a list of the complaints we've got at the last meeting, or this week, or this month, or whatever.
This
Can
is
we sit
discussion
down?
that's healthy, but what I'm saying is we're not getting, again, it's a report, Ms. Altop, but it's not the outline of the things that they're supposed to look at by zones and take care of. So you have the ability as the interim manager to say they hit zone 1 this past month, which is this area of Archer, and have the citizen come back and say, we can see it. It would help them and their system, because they're being reactive now, not proactive with a deferred maintenance plan. It's not happening.
Even if Calvin did that, or anybody did that, they're still going to get attacked. They're still not going to
join the club. We
please,
all are.
right, but they're not going to please all the citizens, because as soon as you.
I'm not asking for them to please all the citizens.
Well,
I'm
because
asking
we can't please them all either, and I think that would just be putting them in the fire. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's right.
I think our consensus of this board, you see that that's not going to pass, so
Yeah,
could we
correct.
move on?
Correct.
Okay, then I will defer that opportunity, but I do expect improvements, whether you all want to deny that, and the way it's being reported. Actions aren't being taken by a zoned area each month, and we're in abysmal.
We don't do, but at the moment, we're not doing zone because there's no mowing occurring. I mean, if you
It's not just the
know what-
mowing, though.
But if you could just email or call or tell me what you're looking for, or Calvin, or both of us, that way we can get what.
And
the
Calvin knows
commission's
what we did
needing.
before.
Yeah, I think part of the problem
I'm just-
also, I'm sorry, part of the problem also is when I see, or when I have someone come up to me and say, why are 3 men down at the flagpole?
Or sitting in the
Take all
truck for an
three of-
hour
or
at a
sitting in the
time.
truck. Does it take all 3 of them to raise the flag? And that's.
And I'm sorry, but
They've got a bad, rap right now, and it's gonna take a lot to bring it out. But
And I don't want to protect that any longer. It's something that needs to be reported, and if somebody says, 3 guys were in the truck for 45 minutes at the barn doing nothing, validated or invalidated, if he wants to say it's not true, that's fine, but he's heard it from the mouth. In the same light, if there are improvements made in that deferred maintenance program, because it's by zones, or we tackled all the sidewalks in this area of Archer, because it's not mowing season, as far as just reviewing their standard condition, whether it's 346, and we don't want to blame it on the county, that's not the city, but it's still our citizens saying that that's a city sidewalk. If it's that bad, they need to go out and take care of it, not just look at it, but take care of it. And I'm not trying to micromanage, but we are consistently getting the same things, and it's not from just one citizen, it's multiple citizens come to us, and we're just, okay, and then we do nothing about it.
And I'm not aware of those. I literally, 2 citizens are all I hear from, and then I send it to the guys. They literally have finished all the stuff that these people have asked for. So I'm just confused on what we're asking, but we can talk about it, I guess, at a different time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's something to go to Deanna as their boss. If they're complaining, or if you get the complaints, we get the
I'm
complaints.
complaining because I'm not getting a public works report. That's the police record at all.
But that still should go to her. So if you're not getting a public works report, ask her for it. Tell her you want a more detailed report.
Correct.
And get it from her.
And that's the last of my mayoral accountability and asking for is a more complete public works report, not just what they've done, but what have they exercised to improve the city, and specific to deferred maintenance, things that are, yes, if it's not mowing season, then what are you tackling, whether it's right-of-ways and limbs hanging down, things like that. That should not continue to be brought forward to us. And so I don't want to get in evaluating a public works supervisor or the team, but the report itself should be more.
So you're letting her know now.
Yeah, I got it.
Or you can call
Oh, and I can have a special meeting with you, and we come up with something that we can present to the dais.
We've been talking about that since 9:15, whether you know it or
Yes,
not.
ma'am. I'm adamant and OCD about something that we're failing at. Yes, ma'am. It's cost us money. Okay, and that's my last request, and I'll get with you, Ms. Althoff. If that's by consensus approved by you all. Okay. That would enhance improvements from our standard that we accept now. Okay. That's all I have. Second comment period? Public comments period?
Oh, well, I guess, but, no, let him go ahead, come on.
Bill Oldowski, citizen. Just a couple of things. One, if you listen to the moratorium discussion, it would be understandable if you got commercial versus industrial confused. So I just want to make it clear. What was being discussed has nothing to do with commercial. Okay, I just want to make, because I didn't get that from the discussion. Okay, there are literally hundreds of different types of commercial businesses that can come in here right now under current code. Now, unfortunately, because of the way the current code is written, they can't go in some of the industrial areas, which is kind of stupid the way we have it set up. You could have a school, by the way, in any of the areas by our codes. You can put schools in there all day long, but you can't put a retail shop. So go figure. The other thing I'd like to say is that if you counted who was an actual voter who stood up and said they were opposed to that, I counted one, an actual voter and resident of this city. In terms of what was publicly available, in terms of what was given to the commission, I counted 2 people who I could identify as voters. So maybe what I need to do is sit up here, come up with a fake newsletter and say, hey, this is what's going on. What I heard out here, in my opinion, it was like a used car sales deal. That's what I heard, but that's me. Charter Commission, we intend to wrap that up, I think February 17th is when we plan to wrap it up. And I just, Commissioner Green, Commissioner Penny have been coming to the meetings. Of course, Commissioner White's been there. I'm not going to go over the whole thing, what we've been speaking about, but I do want to assure you that we have tried to embed financial controls. And actually, we're going to dictate into the charter. We think it's that important, what types of reports you should be getting. So hopefully that'll help.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay. One last thing, and then maybe it's just me, I really wish you'd have a protocol for how you have your employees come in. It just drives me nuts when they come out the door, or when Commissioner Penny is holding Tangi not to come in. I mean, there really needs to be, there's one time when she was upset about something that was being said, and I think it was because Laura Costello was saying something, and you were literally holding the door from her coming out because she was upset. I mean, there needs to be, I think
she was just joking, holding the door. You were just joking.
She was joking, but Tangi wasn't. But the thing is that there really should be some way to have the employees come up and speak and not open the door and burst out and just start saying stuff. I mean, I think there really should be some protocol with that. And maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the only person that bothers, but it's the right way to do things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewandowski. Anyone else? Hearing none, the motion.
Yes, you can adjourn. So next week, I want to talk about the bike giveaway. Not next week, the next meeting.
27th.
So we're gonna talk about the bike giveaway, the park, all that good stuff. I don't wanna prolong the time, so yeah, you can go to adjourn.
Okay. This meeting is adjourned at 6 minutes till 10 o'clock. Thank you for your
Is it
attention.
6 or 5?
That clock says 6. Thank you, Ms. Wells, for being here tonight.